What to do there, my brothers? How y'all doing this evening? Yeah, so today, out of the blue, I guess you could say, Ben Shapiro does Patrick Bette David's podcast, and it did not disappoint. Um, Honestly, I would say that this may, maybe this would be the nail in Ben's coffin. I could see that. I could totally see that. But I walked away from this. I guess I've grown a lot since I've seen Ben Shapiro actually. Oh wait, I didn't have all my streams up yet. Okay, here we go. God damn it! What a pain in the ass. Uh, yeah. Anyway, I guess I've grown a lot since Ben Shapiro's been on the air, and it's like, wow, I mean, I can't believe I actually listened to the guy. And really, I used to. I was thinking not too long ago, like, man, what was it about this guy that like I thought was informative or in any way really worth watching? I mean, he's not all that. I don't think he's that smart. I don't think he's all that clever, poignant. I mean, he has a good vocabulary, better than mine. I mean, a little bit anyway. Um, but I don't, I don't really concern myself with vocabulary. If I'm being 100% honest, I have a good vocabulary, but like I'm not gonna break my neck to get a better one. I have other stuff that deserves my attention more. But and I spent most of today trying to get everything ready. Such a pain in the ass. But anyway, I guess without further ado, actually, would you guys rather watch it straight through, or should I chop it up? Or like, what do you guys think? Which one do you guys prefer? Was thinking, I don't know, playing it straight through. It's like 2 hours. I don't know. I'm not so sure. I'm not sure how well. I mean, there's plenty of fodder. I could probably, y'all know me. I could stop the video every minute and hit this dude on something. But, yeah, we'll watch it real quick. Wait for everybody to get in here anyway. Sorry. Shit. It's actually going to be a banger of a show. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be a banger. Gonna be a banger. Actually, I had this article of him too. Everything Ben Shapiro says is still worthless. Like, this guy has literally become like the whipping boy, or, I mean, it's like nobody likes this guy. Nobody. Oh, I hear you about Viking. I hear you. It shouldn't be that hard for you to tough it out, because I mean, I nailed his ass. I'm going to nail his ass to the wall. I mean, bro, it's a target rich environment. This guy is not very clever. He doesn't have a very good, personable, relatable affect. He has this ridiculously, he's just an abrasive human being, extremely abrasive. And honestly, you love to hate him. You love to hate him. The guy's a jackass, and you love to hate him. Oh, wow. Tucker did a show on him. Okay, well, shit, maybe I should just do the, because I cut it up. chopped it up into like
unified in opposition.
40 minutes worth of clips. All right. Because I do kind of want to watch Tucker's version of it. Here we go.
To serve in the army?
Yes, I mean, this is like a series 8th than Israel had done October 6th, and that's what drove.
And I'm going to skip the beginning. I mean, there was a few things, but I figured I would just rather hit him on the core points here. What the stuff that I could have hit him every 2 minutes, but I don't want to drag it out.
Tucker Carlson's where he is, or Candace Owens where she is, or something. I just don't think that's true. As far as things that Israel has done wrong, I mean, are we talking internally or externally? Because I could name a dozen problems inside of Israel.
Give me any direction you want to go.
Okay, fine. I mean, internally in Israel, they have obviously major problems.
Yeah, let me do a preamble real quick. I want to say this. Patrick Bette David, kudos to him, for doing this. But honestly, Ben Shapiro, I think Patrick Bette David ended this podcast where he did because Ben, maybe he had to get somewhere, but he was just, the way that he was talking to PBD, I could tell PBD cut it short. Like he was like, enough of this, because Ben, he jumps the gun and talks over PBD like over and over and over. And it comes off like it's super try hard, but in it's got this desperate feel to it. But it's try hard, and he's just not very personable. And I just got the feeling that Patrick Bette David was happy for this thing to be over. But you know what? I will say this, dude, a debate between Nick Fuentes and Ben Shapiro, I think that would be the biggest political event of the 21st century. I'm not even kidding either. I'm not even kidding. I think, honestly, that would be, first of all, it would be the biggest political event for young men or the younger generations of all time. Between like 18 and 30, bro. I mean, Patrick, he did his best to try and talk him into it. But bro, it would just be an incredible event, bro. Incredible. I wish he would do it. He's such a pussy, bro.
Including the fact that they have an entire sector of the population that is ultra-religious that refuses to serve in the army, and that's terrible. That's an internal Israeli problem. As far as
they refuse to serve in the army?
Yes, I mean, this is like a serious, it's probably the number one issue in Israel, and it explains a lot of sort of the chaos that you see inside the Israeli government, and also the reason why Bibi leads a coalition that is very unpopular in Israel, but also can't kind of be electorally defeated. The thing that people should understand about the Bibi of it is that if Bibi did not exist, the Israeli government would be following essentially the same playbook. In fact, the people who are running against him right now in an election that's slated to happen in October are running to his right.
They're running to his right.
Yes, that's correct. Gadi Eisenkot.
Get this. Ben Shapiro, or from what Ben's saying right here, what we have seen from Israel and their explanations for Gaza, that was their moralizing excuse. They've been trying to go down a moral persuasive path. They've been trying to convince us to back them because of how good their morality is, fellas. Like if Gaza was them appealing to us on a moral level, like, bro, I'd like to see it when they're not like when they're, what don't they consider moral? Was like nuclear weapons? Bro, it beggars the mind. These people, they know no bounds, man. None. Noon. I'm telling you.
Naftali Bennett. There's a perception in American politics that Bibi is a sort of radical right-wing figure. In Israeli politics, Bibi is actually slightly right of center.
I'm trying not to do this, where I'm stopping and starting, but you hear him where he says, Benjamin Netanyahu, most people are running to his right, and there's a small percentage of Israel that's to his left. And I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, so all the garbage that the Young Turks, all that qualifying, all of the going like going way out of their way to protect Israel. Like, we're talking about Bibi, we're talking about the Israeli government. Oh, and now we find out, bro, that's them. That's them. It's not Bibi. It's not the government. That is that country. They are a straight up fascist country. What it do there, Caravaggio? My brother, my British brother. I mean, it just kind of blows my mind here that Israel, and I've been saying this from the jump, bro, these people, we can't trust them at all. It isn't just Bibi. It's not just the government. It is these people, bro. It is these people. It is, and you know what? I take that back. It's not the people. It's all of them that practice their thing together, their community. You know, that is what does it. And the thing is it still includes the ones that are atheists. It still includes them because they all imbibe from that well heavily, almost more so if they don't practice the whole rigmarole. Trying to see if I can, keep the AI from seeing stuff or, anyway.
Incrementalist in his approach. So one of the big critiques of Bibi has been that he actually has not gone hard enough, for example, in Lebanon, or he didn't go hard enough, believe it or not, in Gaza, because the idea was you should move faster and get fewer Israeli soldiers killed and all
this
that.
This is the people further right than Bibi that are not happy with his actions that he took.
Even the people who are campaigning theoretically to his left, people like Naftali Bennett or Gadi Eisenkot on foreign policy, are actually where he is or to the right. Because the entire Israeli population has reacted to October 7th by saying we're not going to take a sort of defensive step backward. We're going to lean forward and say, okay, now we're going to preemptively hit threats. We are not going to wait for those to materialize.
So stay on that. So what percentage of the population, of the people that are running, are aligned on that topic?
On that topic,
that we should have reacted even stronger
in different ways to Iran, to Lebanon. I would say that there is a coalition that represents probably 80% of the population that is somewhere between.
Mind you, 20% of the population is Arab. So 100% of the Jewish population of Israel feels like they went too soft on Gaza. They went too soft. That's literally what he just said. Israel, they don't realize, but it's like, yo, this ain't going to work. This ain't going to work. And go ahead, do your thing. It's your prerogative. But if you're trying to, kind of flex and stuff, look how tough we are and doing your thing, bro, it's not going to work, man. If you think you're going to go harder, you don't live on planet Earth alone. You don't. You have neighbors. You have allies. You have trading partners. Like, there's going to be real problems if they try to do this again. Honestly, though, I don't even think they're going to last 10 years. I really don't. I don't think they're going to be here in 10 years. Or maybe as a totally different iteration, but I don't think they're going to last.
Just barely to Bibi's left, all the way to his right.
Wow.
So like there's widespread agreement on foreign policy in Israel. There are a couple of fringes that don't agree. I would say the Arab population of Israel obviously is one, which is about 20% of the population there.
I just said.
And there's a left-wing party run by a guy named Yair Golan. Okay, so those are internal problems in Israel. Then there's sort of how Israel has addressed the world. And I would say that...
Are you say, you're a member of the group there, Caravaggio? Word. Well, good. I'm glad you're enjoying the show with us. What, do you not practice or something? I mean, I get it, If, obviously, you wouldn't be watching if you didn't enjoy the show. So anyway, it's cool. Nice to know.
Israel is operating in a mode that, when it comes to PR, that I think is past its sell-by date.
What a weird way to put that. Past its sell-by date?
That is that they have continue to try to make a moralistic argument with regard to foreign policy that I don't think has a lot of truck in a world in which people are significantly more realpolitik in their sort of approach. So I've said this openly. I think that the reasons that the United States ought to be allied with Israel, obviously I think that there's moral alignment with a democratic state that is allied with the United States and literally flying planes alongside the United States against.
See, I don't see it that way at all, Ben. I don't see it that way at all. Honestly, I don't really give a damn that Israel's they're democratic. Yeah, so was Germany in World War II, bro. What do I care about that? Like, I'm so sick. I don't want to be like, they try to appeal to, oh, look, we have a similar style of government. Yeah. What is that? That's supposed to carry some sort of value, some sort of cachet? Bro, you people you have real problems. You just think we're a bunch of morons, I guess, huh?
Enemies like Iran. But put aside that, the real reason that we ought to be allied with Israel from a sort of realpolitik standpoint is that Israel is an extraordinarily technologically advanced military power.
Bro, what are you talking about? Y'all, dude, Israel produced the Desert Eagle and the Uzi, and that's about it. That's about it, man. They produced a few weapons in the 20th century, and that was it. I don't want to hear this crap anymore. It's like, bro, everybody and their brother sells armaments. Everybody sells munitions on the planet. We don't need your shitty munitions, bro. We don't, man. We have AI, bro. And you're trying to say we need Israel? Dude, we have AI. Like, bro. What? It's absurd, bro. This is absurd, man.
Or in the region that has oversight and overwatch and a bunch of other areas where terrorist groups percolate, that Israel's intelligence gathering capacity is extraordinarily high, that Israel acts as what some generals have called a non-floating aircraft carrier for the United States.
Yeah, aircraft carriers are worthless today. Straight up. They're worthless. And the area of the world that Israel is in, we already have 50. We're allied with every other Middle Eastern country. Why do we need Israel's bases? They're literally surrounded by desert, like flat desert. It's like, you know, their reasons for why we should be allied, they have just gotten so old and sorry. It's like, bro, none of those things mean anything. And it was one thing when everybody just assumed that you were like, you know, helping us or doing, you know, like it was worth it. But now that you look into it, it's like, bro, this isn't worth it at all. They have nothing we want. They don't even have fuel. They have nothing. At zero. And matter of fact, they take stuff from us.
And again, if you're going to talk about aid to Israel, I've been talking about phasing out aid to Israel for probably 20 years. So that really is not the issue. So
yeah, and what's going on with that? Why 20 years? You don't think that's odd, bro? You don't think that maybe you should just give it up? Maybe you should just stop pretending that that's ever going to happen? Stop pretending that that means something? Oh, I've been advocating for this. I wonder how many times you've actually said that. And then how many times you've actually said that where you weren't just saying it to cross I's, dot T's, and touch bases, just trying to make sure you say that so in the future you're covered, your ass is covered.
Because I think that it is good for our allies to be militarily capable on their own. Israel has enough of an economy to support itself. I think in emergency situations, obviously like post-October 7th, when you have to ramp up your defense because you're on a war in 7 fronts, the United States very often will
ramp up your defense. Well, first of all, it's like, bro, what defense? They broke into your country and spent 6 hours shooting and killing. Great defense. That's not defense, asshole. You went on offense. You went on offense. You totally dropped the ball when it came to defense. Then you turned into a bunch of bestial, disgusting beings and went offensive and just killed a bunch of women and children. Get out of here with this crap, man. This is garbage, bro. That wasn't defense. They let them in. They let them in. And then waited for them to leave, and then started offensive actions. Bro, these people are despicable.
And our friends and allies, we did that in Ukraine. I was an advocate, by the way, of funding Ukraine. That's another unpopular position on some parts of the right.
You were for funding Ukraine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%, because I think the Russians are our enemies, and I think the Russians do not have America's interests at heart.
Which, by the way, in a weird way today, you're seeing conservatives who would have never defended Zelensky. They're defending Zelensky now because they're realizing Putin was giving different military bases of U.S. to Iran. They were given that intel, and so now that's caused folks to unify against Putin.
But listen, this sort of bizarre willingness to look over or hug Putin for years is bizarre to me. I'm old enough to remember when Mitt Romney was saying that Russia was the number one geopolitical threat to the United States, and the right was.
And it was a joke, dude. We literally, the fall of the Berlin Wall fell like 18 years before he said that. We had less than 4 presidential elections by the time Mitt Romney said that. That was literally the Republican Party scrounging for some enemy that they could justify spending $1 trillion every year. That's what that was, Ben Shapiro. Oh my God, this guy is scum, man.
Totally unified about that. And then obviously that sort of went away. And one of the things that I've learned about politics over the course of the last 15.
Nothing. Oh, that's what I missed is because we're not watching the whole thing. What he started this podcast off with was, I've been doing this since I was 17, and since I was 17, you can go back and look. None of my positions have changed. None of he hasn't changed since he was 17. Well, that's kind of weird, man, because the fact that you were 17, that means that literally everything that you had ever learned or knew, you learned out of books. You learned because somebody else experienced life and then told you. And 26 years have gone by. You've lived 26 years of your adult life, and you haven't gone back. You haven't thought for anything that, that was off, that's what they told me. But no, he believes in his adult life as a Politico, 26 years go by, and this guy, he hasn't evolved on one thing, not on one thing. I submit that is not a flex. That's not a flex, dude. That means you're just like, that's not a good thing, bro. That's not a good thing. Because I had a lot of presuppositions and a lot of ideas on, when I was 17 or 18, and a lot of stuff, I learned as I got older and, started to see things differently. Not Ben Shapiro. See, he's perfect. He skipped 3rd grade. He's perfect, guys. Don't you know? He skipped 3rd grade, and that's not impressive to me. It's like, oh, no way. You were good at doing busy work. You were able to do 2 years of elementary school busy work in one. Oh my God. Wow. What an achievement. Bro, nothing of the kind. This guy has done nothing but flail and fall on his face in the real world. That's all he's done.
20 years is just how reactionary everything is. Everything is just bouncing off of something else. And so it's very few people, I would say, in the political sphere have the same principles that they did when they were 17.
No shit,
I think that,
bro.
That if there's something...
No shit, because they're living life. You're the only robotic douche that, honestly would even try to pretend that's the case for them. Like, oh, I haven't changed one iota since I was 17. Never mind that 26 years went by. Never mind, I had 5 children, got married, went to college. Bro, do you expect anybody to believe this? You just sound like a moron, a lying moron.
Separates me from other pundits is that you can people have commentated on politics. if you look at the through line of what I've believed since I was 17 years old, it's basically the same. And as I've said before, nobody ever looks at what I say and goes, man, when did he change? When did that happen? Right? I'm the same guy I was in 2013, 2014. That's why when you say, what is it that you did or what made you more unpopular post-October, it's not as though I hadn't said anything I was saying, on October 8th that I'd never said before. I mean, obviously that's silly.
Do you see yourself as a villain right now, or do you see yourself as a hero right now?
I mean, I hesitate to label. I see myself as the same person I always was, speaking truths that I think are important, and how people perceive me is of very little relevance to me.
Why are you an easy villain for a lot of people on the right now? Specifically, the youth, the young. Why are you an easy villain?
I think,
bro, his little noises and the way he talks, this whole interview had me cracking up. Like, bro, what is with you? You freaking weirdo, dude. This guy is so weird.
That there is a tendency to, again, try to blame external actors for the problems in your life, and also there's something fun about the idea that your problems are not your fault. And I will say that if there's one message that I've been perfectly consistent about, and there are many, but this is the number one message: most of your problems in your life are solvable by you. This is an unpopular political message. And it varies very strongly from people like Tucker, who says that most of the problems in your life are the fault of somebody else and are unsolvable, maybe altogether. Right? I think that
we're on the same page with that message.
But it's becoming an increasingly unpopular message, which I think is tragic. I think that if there's no one left in American politics who says most of the problems in your life are solvable, you live in the freest system in the history of mankind, the most prosperous system in the history of mankind, and you're sitting there bitching because you don't want to make decisions that will make your life better. And that doesn't mean that we can't do things politically that will alleviate some of the roadblocks, that'll get rid of those obstacles. I mean, that's the job of politics. But most of your successes or failures in your life, like 97% of them, are going to be up to your personal decision-making. And so I'll say stuff like that, and it's fascinating. I'll give you like a villain moment, right, that sort of became...
I agree with him there to a certain extent. He's absolutely right. That if somebody wants to change their life or improve their lot in life, the surest way to do that and the most bang for their buck is getting up off their ass and doing something about it. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. And, I would advise that. Like, if somebody asked me what to do or something, that's what I would advise first. Or I would ask, what have you done so far? But I'm using it, the way I'm thinking of it is like that would be the starting point, and then we'd move on from there. Ben, he's using it as almost like a roadblock or a way to kind of dismiss people's concerns, slap them down. Basically say they're a loser and they need to go get up off their ass, pull themselves up by their bootstrap. I think there's room for both. This is America. And I've said this before, that I think I said it this week, where, if everybody just focused on their own life and their own goals, the world would be a lot better. America would be in a lot better of a situation. It would. It would. And that, and that's the American way. That's truly Americanism. Like, that's the, self-reliance, responsibility, making your way on your own, getting it, getting things done. But that's not, I'm like, you don't use that to bludgeon people with, to shut them up, to just throw it at, shut up, shut up. Because that's what he does. And it's so curt. It's like he is at one of the colleges and he's debating some furry at a college. That's how it feels like you're being spoken to when Ben Shapiro says that. It's like, bro, we're supposed to be comrades here. Like, we're politically aligned. I'm coming to you with concerns. You're like a leader and you just dismiss me, almost as if, like, how dare I deign to even ask you and anything. It's like, bro, you deserve everything that you've gotten. You're washed up. You don't know how to, you're not relatable. You don't care about other people. it's like he thinks he's above that stuff. And this interview is him basically admitting, oh, I guess I do have to do this stuff. I guess I'm not better than everybody else, because he thinks he is.
Villain moment. So one of the things that I said, I was on, I think it was Konstantin Kissin's podcast, and we were talking about.
They do a great job.
Yeah, he's great. The trigonometry guys are really good. And we were talking about affordability.
You know, and that's one thing I get out of this interview too, is the way that it's almost like he's just trying to get to his point as fast as possible. You know, PBD says, you know, shout out to those guys, you know, blah, blah, blah. And Ben is like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. You know, and he just says it as fast as he can. And it's like that the whole interview. It's almost like, I don't know, it reminds me of Richard Nixon debating JFK, where he's like, or no, that was Bush, where he's looking at his watch. You know, it doesn't look good.
In New York. And one of the things I said is, listen, there are things you could do to alleviate housing prices in New York, somewhat. Okay, New York is a limited piece of territory that is very, very highly built up. So you're not going to double the housing stock in New York. It's just not going to happen because there's not enough space. And so if the rent is too high there for you, you're a young person, you don't have a job that can pay for the rent. If you want to improve your life, you might think about moving out of New York, which, again, I thought is relatively uncontroversial.
It's not, bro, because that was actually somewhat reasonable, but that's not what he said. PBD's fixing to play it, but that's not what he said then. Like, that right there is him. That's reasonable. Like, offering, well, maybe it's because of this. It's like, bro, that's not what you said, dude. And he tries to kind of pretend like he didn't say what he said. Like, here.
Many times in my life, in pursuit of a job, in pursuit of a better career opportunity, we've considered moves that we didn't make, right? That was kind of the norm, and I thought that is how you pursue success, right? If you're not succeeding in a particular situation, look for another situation in which you can succeed. This became uber viral because the idea was that I was telling people that they did not have a right to live where they grew up. And listen, you have a right to live where you grew up, but you don't have a right to not pay rent there. Right? You don't have a right to a $200,000 salary from a company.
Who criticized you? Who criticized?
I mean, Tucker was very heavy on this. He played this.
Bro, every time PBD asked something like that, Tucker. This was like a hit job on Tucker. It's disgusting. What a loser.
But this went very viral online. It was a huge percentage of the right was trying to make the argument. And then this is where you see it telescoped into an issue. That this is where I start to say, okay, because I'm wearing a yarmulke, there's something to, the targeting. They tried to telescope, believe it or not, that issue into Israel. So what they tried to do is they did a two-step. The first thing that my opponents did is they lied about what I was saying, obviously. What they said is that I said that you have no right to be where you grew up, which is not what I said.
Really?
And then they said, but you have a right to be in Israel, right? You have a right of Israel to exist, but you don't have a right for America. What in the world are you talking about?
Is this it? Is this the clip?
Check it out.
Yes, this is probably
Okay, go for it.
If you're a young person and you can't afford to live here, then maybe you should not live here. I mean, that is a real thing. Yeah, I know that we've now grown up in a society that says that you deserve to live where you grew up, but the reality is that the history of America is almost literally the opposite of that.
Bro, he says, we all think that we're owed, to live where we grew up. And then he says, but that's not the case. And then before he didn't think PBD was going to play it, tried to pretend that's not what I said. Bro, that's exactly what you said, asshole. Exactly what you said.
The history of America is you go to a place where there is opportunity. And if the opportunities are limited here and they're not changing, then you really should try to think about other places where you have better opportunities. If you're a young person and you can't afford to live here, then maybe you should not live here.
You can pause it. So that's what you got heat for.
That end got him too.
8th than Israel had done October 6th. And that's what drove Tucker Carlson to where he is, or Candace Owens to where she is, or something. I just don't think that's true itself. I think in emergency situations, obviously, like has terrorist groups percolate, that Israel's...
Oh, no, that was the end. That was the end, maybe.
I think that dishonesty remains...
Yeah, I did like 10-minute clips. I think I got 4 of them.
I think that dishonesty remains a blind spot. When people are dishonest with me, I think they can get away with it for a while before I figure it out. Because truth is such a core value for...
My bad. The damn thing, the source froze, of course. Of course it did. Time.
like really a core value for me. Like one of the names that we gave our latest kid is rooted in the Hebrew word for truth. Like I'm like, because I care so much about the truth, when people are just purely willing to be dishonest or openly greedy or just venal, corrupt, I'm still taken aback by that. There's sort of a core naivete, I think, that I may never get over because I literally, it does not compute for me. Because my parents raised me in a particular way where honesty was kind of.
I can actually relate to him on that. I've always been kind of a naive, trusting guy. You know, like friends and stuff. I don't know. Well, growing up anyway, and it's because like I had a good childhood. Like I assume people are good people. Like an idiot, I guess.
The number one value, and so if anything, my relentless honesty has gotten me in trouble from time to time. It's also done a world of good for me. And my great hope, and I think the hope of all politics, is that eventually the truth wins out. But the key word there is eventually.
Got it. And then how about with business, running a business? What blind spots do you have in running a business? Because the thing is, and I asked this from Jeremy when he was on, I told you off camera how much I enjoy talking to him.
Yep.
And it was very
Jeremy's
complimentary
great.
of you, is being a talent and a business owner operating. I remember one time Glenn Beck is like, man, I realized when I started Blaze, I don't want to operate.
Yes.
I just want to be talent. What blind spots do you have as the face? We were doing a podcast 2 months ago, and one of the guys on the podcast, Elon, he said, I believe Daily Wire without Ben Shapiro shuts down the next day. He said 70-80% of Daily Wire is Ben Shapiro. Now, the debate went to, well, no, Michael Knowles, which I love. I think he's phenomenal. Matt Walsh plays a very important role with his attitude and personality that's attractive. The way he talks, there's something there.
His documentaries are huge.
Jordan Peterson, I hope he's doing better, with the family things that he's going through. You guys got a couple other people there as well. But how would you respond to that? How would you respond to that?
I mean, listen, for the vast majority of the early days of the business, I was not an operator of the business. Right? Jeremy and Caleb were the co-CEOs of the business for the entire foundational period of the business from 2015 up until about 2025. And Caleb was still the CEO when Jeremy was moved out.
You prefer that, not being in the operational side.
I mean, I'm down here in Florida, and the business is located up in Nashville.
Tennessee, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, on a lifestyle level, absolutely. I'd much rather go and do my show, think about the issues that I actually care about, and not have to worry about the marketing strategy or the budgets or how we deal with outstanding lenders or any of that kind of stuff. Like, I don't want to do any of that. If I'd wanted to do that, I could have. I went to Harvard Law School. I was the executive vice president of a major company when I was 26 years old. I can do that if I want to. I really do not want to do that. And so there's always this kind of bizarre divide where I've not been in a managing position. I don't have a management position with the company. I'm on the board. I don't have a management position with the company.
When's the last time you had it?
I never had it.
You never had it?
I never had it. I was not president. I was not vice president. I was not executive. I was never an executive.
That was intentional.
Yes.
I just want to be a talent.
Yes. And that doesn't mean I didn't have 30,000 foot input. I did. But I was routinely outvoted by we had like a 3-man kind of majority in terms of the ownership structure.
Do you think that's sustainable long term?
I mean, obviously not. I mean, I think that I needed to get more involved, unfortunately, when the business experienced troubles. Obviously, that's why you make a change. If business is experiencing no troubles, you don't make a change. That has nothing to do with my personal love for Jeremy as a human. And one thing that this is true for politics and it's true for business. It's business, Sonny. It ain't personal. It's not personal. Okay, I can love people. I can like people. That's irrelevant to whether the bottom line is coming in where the bottom line needs to come in, or whether the decisions are being made that allow for the possibility of future success. That is not the same thing. And again, that's true for politics too. I find that a lot of the people who are very angry at me in the political sphere, like, well, I thought we were friends. Well, I'm not criticizing you for being, on a friendship level or on a personal level. I'm criticizing the things you're saying publicly because that's literally our job. Right, so that's true in business and it's true in politics. And politics is closer to business for me than it is to friendship or personal relationship.
Where would you score yourself if you're comfortable even talking about this? Because based on what you just said, right, I didn't even think about asking you this. How good would you say you are in building relationships with others in the space?
Oh man!
On a personal level, I think that on a personal level, I think that it depends who we are talking about. I would say that
to tell you, Charlie Kirk, ridiculous how the guy was at relationships.
Right. So
ridiculous.
Yes,
I'm talking that where he was
say,
like the unifier. He played.
I would say good, not great.
Good, not great.
Good, not great.
Okay. Intentional. You don't want to do it. It's not natural. No interest. I mean,
I'll put it this way: nobody. It's very funny to say this, but Candace actually said this when she left. I had never had a cross conversation with Candace, ever. Okay, when she left,
Cross means you guys never had a falling out. You guys never had.
We never had a bad conversation where we were yelling at each other or really going at each other or anything like that. The same is true for people like Brett Cooper, who said publicly this at the time. Right? I'm actually interpersonally, I get along fine with people. In some cases, I get along great with people.
Sure.
But business is business, and friendship is friendship, and they're not quite the same thing. And so what Charlie was really good at was kind of combining the two. So a huge number of people felt that they were Charlie's closest friend. I never said that I was, because again, I was not.
Because you were his enemy.
Because that's not how I have an actual family with actually 5 kids, and I have 2 sisters who live nearby, and I have my parents and my in-laws who live nearby, and I have actual friends that I go out to dinner with.
It's a good thing, man, because, for a second there, we thought that they were imaginary friends and an imaginary wife and an imaginary kid. Good thing they're actual. Wouldn't want them to be figments of your imagination.
Do you think it's something you ought to make that adjustment and see yourself as a powerhouse that for the sake of the conservative movement, there needs to be more relationships instead of just transactional or just business being done?
Probably. Probably. The answer there is probably yes. Because, you asked about blind spots. This is a peculiar blind spot of mine. It's like, I don't even understand why you'd want to do that. Like, I don't know about you. The people that I hang out with when I'm not at work, it's a different set of people than when I'm at work. I think that may be unusual.
You're assuming everybody's wired like you. They're not. So
right, exactly. I'm saying it's a blind spot.
No, listen, trust me, I've screwed this up many times. So the part I'm bringing to you is I'm wondering what needs to happen next. Because, if you talk to Tucker, like I wonder, how Megyn Kelly all of a sudden made a shift?
Yes.
And you're like, because when something happened to Charlie, I came out and I said, the person that I think can unify is a Megyn, because Megyn was kind of like the
she's getting along with everybody.
Yeah,
Megyn is very friendship oriented
and respected and respected. Like everybody's like, that's Megyn Kelly, and Megyn is fair. Like she'll call out Trump, but she'll also come out. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, if there was 2 people who were going to be in her ear, you and Tucker, post Charlie. If she talks to you, goes one direction. If she talks to Tucker, goes a different direction. Do you think she sided with Tucker because Tucker's better at building the relationships than you?
I think she sided with Tucker because I think that she, for whatever reason, did not want to alienate people who were saying terrible things. And again, this...
he's like, I think she sided with Tucker for this, that, and third. Bro, she didn't side with anybody until you accosted her, verbally accosted her in front of a huge crowd and put her in the hot seat. Like, bro, you were the one that decided which side you were on and which side she was on. She didn't decide. She would have rather have stayed out of it. No, Ben decided she was going to be on Tucker's side, not Megyn, not Tucker.
One area where I think our standards are different. I think that for Megyn, a lot of politics seems to be relational. And for me, politics, again, is principle driven. And so the critique that I had of Megyn was that she was allowing the personal relationships with some people to trump the truth and basic decency. That was the critique that I leveled at her. I said, like, why, I don't even understand the idea that you can't say that your friend who happens to be a public figure saying...
Maybe she didn't agree with you, bro. Maybe she didn't agree with your evaluation of this person or of the situation. Like, honestly, she's like, Ben, I actually have a life. I actually have a wife and kids. Bro, Megyn Kelly actually has a life, actually has kids too. And she's not some insane Jay who's Israel first. Like, bro, this guy is a whack job, man.
Like, thinks that what they're saying is wrong and bad.
And
do you ever before call?
Who the hell is he? Who the hell is this guy? Like, I remember when he confronted her, she was like, who am I to like call balls and strikes? Like, these people are grown, they're adults. It's their prerogative. I mean, what? Like, I don't have any sway to like, he's like a child.
Well, now it's somebody that's one of your peers. Call them and say, hey, I'm going to say this. You're probably not going to like it, but I'm giving you a warning.
Yes.
You do that.
Yes.
Is that common?
Yes.
Did you do that
doubt
with
it.
Megan before
Yes.
you hit the stage?
Yes.
So you told her you're going to call her out on
I said, if you ask me questions about Tucker Carlson or about any of these topics, I'm going to have to say what I think.
No. When you went on
No,
stage
she
to give the
didn't.
talk,
He didn't
did you
say
tell
Oh,
her,
at
Megan, here's
TPUSA?
TPUSA?
No, but not before TPUSA, because we already had this conversation behind the scenes.
Couple days
on,
ago, whatever.
I mean, it was like 2 weeks before
Right,
when she had said it. And then
Right.
I didn't say anything differently on the stage at TPUSA than I had said right in front of her on
Sure.
stage, in front of an
She-
audience where,
She would not have brought him on if he had said something.
again, like we went there because we have a good relationship or had a good relationship. I mean, she openly talks about the fact that I helped restart her career when she was, on the outs with the network after she got fired from NBC. And she came to our, none of this is personal animus. None of this is personal
what I'm
animus.
saying.
This is, no, I know, but they do. They think this.
He's like, none of this is personal animus. It's like, bro, then why did all you have these fallings out all at the exact same time? Isn't that odd? You had a falling out with Tucker, with Megan at the same time. The same time. I don't think it had anything to do with Megan and Tucker. I think everything has to do with Ben Shapiro. They were living their lives, doing their thing just as usual, per the usual. He's the guy who had this radical shift.
So Megan will think that it's like I have personal animus for Megan, which is why I'm critical of Megan. Megan is a public figure. It is very difficult in the public figure space.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's correct to have a stance in the public figure space that if a public figure is your friend and does something wrong, that they are somehow immune to criticism. I think that is a bad.
Bro, you don't think it's correct? Well, good for you, man. That's how you feel about it. Like, and if that's the way you feel, Ben, maybe politics just isn't, you're not cut out for it, bro. Maybe that's just, and honestly, that is literally the conclusion I came to. That's how I was going to end the show. I was going to say, honestly, I think this guy, he's just not cut out for this. He should not have a public facing gig. He's not, he doesn't pack the gear. He does not pack the gear.
Way to do public figuring, shall we say, in the political space.
Maybe there's an element of etiquette of how to do it.
I mean, I think there is an element. Well, I mean, the element of etiquette that I've applied, and I try to apply to literally everyone, I've done it here today, is I don't attribute.
Bro, do you hear what I'm saying? He's like, just like chomping at the bit, bro. He only said like half that word. And he's just like, drive by. It's so, I don't know, man. This was not his strongest showing, not his strongest performance.
I'm just characterizing your public view, and I'm saying what you are doing is wrong. But I'm not attributing motivation. I'm not saying you're doing it because you're evil. I might say that what you're doing is evil. I think that it is evil what Candace Owens.
You know something? He's blowing this off like he just, said, hey, you might not want to do that. No. This guy waited till they were at a conference, till they were at a speaking engagement before he literally did like a public execution, a public show trial of Megyn Kelly. I mean, you got to understand how intensely, how humiliating that is in front of thousands of people who you're supposed to be speaking to. This guy starts questioning your morals, starts accusing you of like evil in front of thousands. Dude, that is like, to a woman, no less. That stuff matters a little bit more to a woman. Bro, that is like cruel and unusual punishment. I wouldn't do that to somebody who actually committed a crime. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but that was a big deal what he did there. You don't do that to a friend. Dude, the only way it could have been worse is if he pulled her dress off or something, pantsed her basically. I mean, honestly, that was a big deal, dude. Thousands of people just did that to her. I mean, if a guy did that to me on that stage, he probably would have got his ass whooped right there. That would not have been cool, man.
Is done to Charlie Kirk's family. I think it's an evil thing to do. But I'm not going to get into like why I think she's doing it because I'm not a psychiatrist.
No, I get
But
that.
she's
But to
evil,
me,
nonetheless.
I'm wondering, one of the things that a synergist is very well at is building relationships.
Yeah, it's not his thing. Oh, next one.
Remains a blind spot. When people are dishonest with me, I think they can get away with it for a while before I figure it out. Because truth is such a core value for me, like really a core value for me. And one of the names that we gave our latest kid is rooted in the Hebrew word for truth. Because I care so much about the truth, when people are just purely willing to be dishonest or openly greedy or just venal, corrupt, I'm still taken
I
aback
think
by
this
that.
is mixed up.
There's sort of,
Relationships instead of just transactional or just business being
I mean,
done.
probably
Yeah, that must have been like a duplicate.
figuring that she will outperform in South Carolina.
Hmm.
She's a black candidate.
Here we go.
People have voted for her
What
before.
the hell?
Why not?
I see. Each video is a different tab in QuickTime Player. That's why it's doing this stupid crap. It's the first time I've ever used QuickTime. My bad, fellas. I've got like 6 tabs.
Like go and make that run in South Carolina because she's almost guaranteed to win South Carolina unless there's a candidate like, say, a Wes Moore or something who comes out of Maryland and is similar competitive with the black vote.
Do you think Newsom is done?
I don't think he's done, but I think that peaking too early is a real thing. I mean, there have been a number of candidates. Like if you go back to like 2012, I think it was like Tim Pawlenty was one of the early candidates. People, Tim Pawlenty will be a thing.
Scott Walker was a guy.
Right, Scott Walker was a big thing, right? You remember in the Democratic Party, Kamala Harris was a thing in 2020, right?
yeah.
And she flamed out. So, I think that when you start to get like all the headlines this early, it's very difficult to sustain that momentum for that amount of time. The thing for AOC is that AOC is going to lock about 1/3 of the Democratic Party voting base if she decides to run, right? That takes 1/3 basically off the table, minimum. And
So it's an automatic VP position if she wanted it.
you
You need her as a VP.
maybe. I mean, I think so. First of all, I don't think VPs tend to matter very much in terms of general elections. Like people.
You know, it's a shame too because I think Ben Shapiro has strong suit. He has strong points. The guy isn't like just some demon or some, just piece of garbage. I think this bit of insight from him right here is actually pretty good. And I'm sure he has inside knowledge, so he gets a lot of this a little bit probably more granular than we do. But I think that's a decent bit of political explanation. I think it's good. And it's such a shame, because he has so many other issues that that they all obstruct this one. Because I mean, I think he is and I said this when I was watching it alone. He should have been a news anchor. He should have been, if he had to be public facing, it should not be his words, really. Although, I mean, I think he actually is all right at presenting the news, and he maybe has a good nose for the news, but other than that, I can't stand him.
Didn't vote for Trump because JD was the VP, and they didn't vote.
You don't think he won because of Pence? Pence is the GOAT. You don't think Pence is the reason why Trump won in 16?
I do not think that Pence is the reason why Trump won in 16. Yeah, exactly. So I don't think
JD played a good role when he talked to.
He did a great job with
when
Walz,
he did the
for sure.
debate.
Yeah, the debate
and
was.
he went. I thought he did very good.
But the reality is that again, Trump I think could have picked anybody out of a lineup and probably won that election with the same.
2024 was a magical year.
It was.
That
It was
something
wild.
else.
It was
wild.
wild.
Okay, so another article from Politico a couple days ago. GOP staffers say the party has a Groyper problem. So Groyper problem, we're talking about Fuentes. So
yeah.
Polling shows that the overwhelming majority of young conservatives reject anti-Semitic views, though their support for Israel has dropped significantly from their prior generations. They also are more skeptical of military intervention than forebears. The oldest members of the Gen Z cohort were toddlers on 9/11, grew up in an era of multi-decade, multi-trillion-dollar wars, and found themselves unable to afford homes as they reached adulthood. Many come of their mistrust of GOP orthodoxy, honestly. So do you think there is a Groyper problem on the right?
I mean, obviously, Nick has built himself a nice-sized audience, and I think that a lot of these sort of, edgy, half comedy, half not comedy stuff that he's doing has traffic. I mean, transgress.
Kind of crazy how I didn't expect Ben to give, to sort of in admiration talk about Nick's audience and stuff, but it's weird to hear Ben Shapiro basically saying even he likes Nick's show, because that's literally what he's saying right here. In more than one way he says it, but he's basically saying, the edgy stuff is actually, it's kind of funny. And he maintains that Nick is a comedian basically with political views. And it's like, bro, out of all people, he's trying to come off authentic, and just because he's thinking, no, everybody expects him to just hate Nick. So this is the one bone he's going to throw. And he thinks this would probably fix that. Everybody will, they'll think I'm authentic again if I just throw this out there.
Transgressive politics is always attractive to young people, whether it's Hassan Piker saying he loves Mao on the left, or whether it's Fuentes saying he loves Hitler on the right. The kind of violating the rules is always sexy to people, and so it kind of bespeaks authenticity.
And the fact that he understands what's going on with Nick. How many of these boomers and these people, they don't realize, yo, what up, big cat? It's like the boomers, either they don't say anything or they really don't realize that the transgression, they don't, Nick doesn't actually believe this stuff, so to speak. It's about the transgression. And usually, especially the Jays, they never acknowledge that. And it kind of caught me off guard that he acknowledged that, that it's not, and honestly, he said the quiet part out loud. None of these people that slander people as anti-Semites, none of them actually believe that anybody is anti-Semitic. None of them. And that's what he's saying here. He knows it's just a show. It's an act, and he's fine with it, talking about it. So and they pretend as though them days are over.
Or bespeaks humor or whatever it is. So yeah, and I think that there's a legitimate issue with people who believe some of the things, and because at a certain point, and you see this with the DSA left, the same way you're seeing with the Groyper right, is it's all joking until it's not joking, right? Like you joke about Hitler, and at a certain point you're like, am I really joking about Hitler, or was he really kind of okay?
People are allowed to joke about Hitler. When it becomes an issue, when people say, oh, they're not joking. Yeah. When they start rounding people up and putting them in cattle cars, then is the right time to say, oh, he really does believe this stuff, because it's moot whether or not somebody believes any of this stuff if they just go about their life like a regular person. People are allowed to have their own thoughts, dude. They're allowed to think the things they want to think, no matter how evil and terrible. People think about suicide, and that's a terrible thing. Nobody's policing people about, are you thinking about it? Nobody's doing that. It's like, bro, what matters is, are people acting on it? Are they doing despicable things to your people, to the tribe out of their beliefs? No, then shut up, man. Then just stop.
Like, was he really kind of an OG, or was he not? Right? Like, have we really been sold about?
You think he's joking? Or you think
I don't think that Fuentes is joking. I think that he likes to use humor as a cover for the fact that he is not joking. Actually, I think that his belief system is I'll grant him the courtesy of sincerity. I think he's sincere in his belief systems. I think he's wrong.
And like I said, does it even matter? I don't see it. Where's the huge movement, the wave movement that just takes over the country? Where are the concentration? Like, if there's no difference between the world with Nick and the world without Nick, basically, dude, this stuff is moot, bro. It's just you trying to bestow power on yourself, trying to bestow, this air of moral superiority. Like, bro, we've had enough of it. Move along. If that's the life you want to live, if that's the way you want to behave and move in ours and orient yourself in our society, you need to go, bro. You don't belong here.
I think much of what he says is quite morally terrible, but I think that he comes by it honestly.
You work with them.
I did not. So
Did he work? What was the relationship with you guys
so-
back in the
Yeah, I
days? Because I know
agree.
he
To be honest
came
with
on.
you-
I asked him the
right.
question.
So he has this whole like weird villain origin story that he's come up with regard to his rise in Daily Wire and all this. I'll be honest with you, I don't remember pretty much any of this because this was not important to me at any point in my life. So this is like the only thing I remember is that Cassie Dillon, now Cassie Akiva, was friends with
He
Fuentes.
sure
I
as
believe.
hell remembers her last name, though, doesn't he?
And she texted me a debate that Fuentes had done. I think he was at BU at the time on immigration, and he did a tremendous job because Nick is a smart guy. Like he's again, I think what he believes is quite terrible, but he has some IQ, and so I had Daily Wire cover that debate because it was an immigration debate, and then I don't know if I was following him on Twitter or what the story was. Some tweet of his came up where he was basically accusing anybody who is pro-Israel of dual loyalty. And I said, that's an anti-Semitic trope, that everybody who supports Israel is loyal to the state of Israel over the United States or is more loyal or as loyal to Israel as to the United States.
And honest, it's like, bro, first of all, the dude was asking questions, and nobody says that just because somebody supports Israel that they're not a proud American or a loyal American. It's the ones that steal our nuclear secrets and from us and sell them to Russia, like those people. And it's not out of bounds. Like that has to be on the table. It's a possibility. Fifth columns are a thing. They've happened all over. They've happened all throughout history. And it's like, it's not evil or against the rules or against the law to ask these questions, to pose these questions. And instead of Ben Shapiro saying, hey, trying to reason with Nick, he just tries to shut him up. And this is basically his whole thing, his shtick. And this is what's gotten him in so much trouble. It's like he's lazy or he just doesn't like people or whatever. But instead of addressing Nick's concerns, he wrote him off, just basically attacked him, tried to destroy him politically. Instead of just trying to reason with the guy, he didn't even try to reason with the guy. I'm sorry, Ben, but no matter what happened, you're in the wrong, dude. You are in the wrong. Your behavior was unacceptable.
Would like to have him on. You'd
Sure,
like
of
to
course.
talk to him. Okay, and he's not done it yet.
No.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It's the end. Dang it. It's so weird how every time, usually it's the same window, but you don't have to keep switching because every time you move on to a different tab, this app for some reason.
Okay, Nick is a comedian masquerading as a political pundit. He has political views, but in essence, he's a comedian. And you can't really have an honest political conversation with a comedian. It'd be more like interviewing Dave Chappelle or something, but like Nazi Dave Chappelle. Meaning, what does Nick believe? What does he not believe? I don't know. I mean, it depends on what's funny at the moment. And so trying to...
So you don't think he has core beliefs?
No, I mean, I do think that he has core beliefs, but I think that one of the tactics that he uses to avoid being pinned down on his core beliefs is diffusing with humor. And I think that when you try to pin him down with that, then the idea is that you're an uncool person for even asking him to be pinned down on that sort of thing. And so there's no sort of honest conversation that can be had about, like, what are your core beliefs and are they right or are they wrong? Because that's not what he does. I think when he's asked a tough question, then...
And all of this just sounds like loser talk to me. Sounds like excuses and loser talk. That's what it sounds like. Like, and it's him trying to justify never being a reasonable actor. The guy is not a reasonable person. He never tried to reason with Nick Fuentes. He doesn't try to reason with anybody. If you're not doing too good and you need some help and you ask for help or you want help from the government or something, Ben Shapiro, he doesn't reason with you. He just tells you to get your shit together, graduate high school, get married and have more kids than you can afford. And if you can't, then go end yourself. This is the crux here. This guy, his people skills. I mean, it's like he hates people, and that's not what it is. We're gonna get to it. Just give me, let it cook. Let it give it time.
Immediately reverts to the sort of 17-year-old humor that, listen, people can find it transgressively funny. I, on occasion, find it transgressively funny. But that is not an honest conversation about his politics or his principles, and I don't think that that's probably in the offing.
Yeah, I think he's different when he's on the mic and on the screen talking, him and the camera like this, versus one-on-one.
Well, I think,
very different
listen,
one-on-one.
Also, obviously, his incentive structure, if we were to sit down together, would be to get the own the Shapiro moment, right, and then blow it up all over the internet, clearly.
Would you ever have him on?
Would I ever have him on? I mean, it depends. Again, if he were to, I would. The answer is no, I think. But the reason I'm hesitating is because if I got the impression that he were willing to have like an actual serious sit down conversation without all of the, now I'm just going to call you a Jew for the shits and giggles of it, so that the audience goes crazy. Like I'm not interested in that.
Why
right?
not?
Why am I not interested in having on somebody who just calls me a Jew for the shits and giggles of it? Because I think
I actually don't think he'll do that. I actually don't think he'll do that.
So I mean.
Bro, it comes off as a total cop-out because nobody believes that. First of all, Nick doesn't do that. He doesn't. Oh, what up there, Mr. Dempsey? Welcome. He doesn't do that. He doesn't just say the J word over and over or anything. It's like if he does things like that, it's clever, at least, usually. It's like he's not a 10 IQ, idiot. I mean, and he wants to bag you ideologically. He wants to beat you in a debate desperately, not to, I own the truth. No, he wants to beat you straight up fair and square. And if he doesn't, I mean, it's kind of sad, but I'm sure he does.
If you could convince me of that, then I would do it.
Yeah, I don't think he would do that.
Or the.
I think it would be a real good debate, and it would be a good
fire.
Conversation.
Fire.
And I think a lot of the youth would sit there and say, good for Ben for having him on. It would be what a lot of people would never see coming. And I think you would be more surprised on how he is one-on-one. By the way, just so you know.
I mean, again,
from the day he's been on my podcast.
I'm sure he's a very nice guy in a one-on-one.
From the day he was here with me.
See all the interrupting?
The interview. Till today, him and I haven't spoken at all.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's a
course,
conversation, anything like that. I just think it would be a good conversation to have him. And, selfishly, I would also like to see you and Tucker sitting down. You on his or him on yours.
Again,
I know, and that's not happening.
I've offered Tucker that about 1,000 times.
I've seen that.
And I really doubt that's going to happen. Again, I think that there's a misalignment of incentives. I think that Nick, let's put it this way, Nick does not want to be pinned down on his ideological beliefs with data or with counter-argument that is serious. And so his incentive structure very strongly would be to sort of do the Piers Morgan interview, right? Like if you watch Nick's.
How about this, Ben? Instead of you trying to be a fortune teller and tell us what Nick would do or not would or wouldn't do, why don't you just debate him, bro? So we can all find out for ourselves. Instead of having to hear you equivocate and stutter and stumble over your own words, grow a pair, dude. Grow a pair.
Interview with Piers Morgan. Again, I found it amusing too because
Nick's
really good at that game. But
absolutely.
Piers is trying to pin him down on his beliefs about the Holocaust, and so what Nick does is he immediately launches into a bunch of jokes about the Holocaust. Well, again, those jokes may be transgressively funny, but that doesn't actually.
Yeah, because they were moralizing. It was a bunch of garbage moralizing, trying to Piers Morgan, the scandal rag news guy, trying to moralize to Nick. Yeah, I would have done the same thing. Screw you. You're not here to have a conversation. You're here to be holier than thou. And, I'm not having it. I would have done the same thing. Good on Nick for doing that. Screw them. There's no reason to even to subject oneself to that.
To the root of the issue. Is everyone smarter for having heard that? I think actually everyone might be stupider for having heard this.
I don't think so.
That's the hard part, right? A level of debate requires a level of sincere revelation of your interior beliefs and willing to defend them. If what you're going to do is run away to comedy or to humor or to insult, then that's not worthwhile. It doesn't advance the ball.
There's a difference with comedy,
Billy.
and there's a difference with rage-baiting comments that it's going to get under your skin. I think when I was at Amphist and somebody asked me a question, why won't you sit down with Nick? I said, I'm not comfortable with him saying the N-word all the time. And I said it from stage. I'm like, I just want you to be respectful. You know, I listened to hip hop for many years and maybe a little bit too much when I was a kid, but I chose to change and I went a different direction in my life. And then we had a very respectful conversation together. Like Crowder's funny. Crowder is one of the most talented guys. I know you guys had something that happened many years ago, but I think Crowder is super talented.
Of course.
And he's funny as shit, like this stuff they used to do back in the days. You're like, who is this guy? You would watch him. You would say, super brilliant, but he's also able to do this. So.
Again, I think it is important for me to say at this point that at no point, so what's funny is that there's been this conflation. I'm just going to make this point because you're not making it, but I know that how the internet works. I'm not saying that anybody should take away Nick Fuentes' microphone or anyone else's microphone. Whether I choose to be on a podcast with somebody or not choose to be on a podcast that is an aspect of free speech, the same as it is whether I want to or whether I don't want to. So again, I think there are circumstances under which I would do something like that, but I'd have to believe.
Boy, isn't it just so convenient for Ben how free speech works? You know, there's no free speech when you have friends that say something that Jewish people don't like. But, you know, whenever it suits Ben, there's such a thing as free speech.
Certain things about how he would approach the thing in order to mean that I would think it's worthwhile. Now, other people might think it's worthwhile, right? But they're not me, so, you know.
I think it's a way to get in front of the youth that right now is not getting a platform because they're listening to him more than you. So I think sitting down with you, you would get in front of his audience. And if you feel your argument is more logical, his audience is going to say, you know what, he's actually got a good point.
Yeah, they would.
That would be the biggest thing.
That is definitely the strongest steel-manned argument in favor.
Yeah, even if it's a 5% that's reasonable, that's willing to shift.
Right, and the strongest steel-manned argument against is that it's a setup. Right, that's the strongest steel-manned argument.
Yeah, but if it's on your territory, there's no risk.
It's a setup, bro. So what if it is a setup? You go on there and it's a setup. He looks like a jackass that doesn't want to debate, that's afraid of getting beaten, and you look like a boss. Like, bro, it's a win-win. He's just a pussy, man. This guy he's a nutless wonder. The guy, he doesn't have a pair. They don't exist, man.
You're controlling the territory.
I don't think that's true because, again, I'm honest enough I would not slice and dice it, right? And anything that we taped, we would put out.
Yeah. No. Listen, so, yeah. I mean, I came to your territory, so I've seen how you guys do things.
I mean, we're so kind with our interviews, as you know, that like we'll say that if somebody says something they feel they didn't articulate properly in the moment, we'll say like go back and articulate it better. Right? We want people to present the best form of their argument.
Yeah. Last thing before we wrap up, Florida. Both you and I live in Florida. I want to know how you feel about this. Byron Donalds, capable, talented. I've had him on. I like him. Running for governor, doesn't want to do primary. We held a debate here locally with Paul Renner, with Jay Collins, and James Fishback. And I had no clue who Renner was. By the time it was on, I'm like, this guy's impressive. I don't know if you know Renner, the Speaker of the House of the State of Florida. He did very good during the debate. And Byron Donalds said, if anybody hits double digits, I'll do the debate.
Oh,
now he's not sitting out doing a debate with anybody. And the Florida GOP is ran by Evan, I don't know what his name is, Evan or if I say him correctly, I think his name is, I won't say it properly, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody here, but they don't think there needs to be a debate on the primary side. Where do you stand with this?
Again, President Trump did this too. So my view is...
President Trump was already a president.
Well, no, actually, even during the first round of debates in 2015, 2016, there came a point where he was up front and he was like, I'm not going to participate in
but he did a couple of them.
He did a couple of them, yeah. Listen, would I like to see a debate between the gubernatorial candidates? Sure. Do I think that it's incumbent on Byron Donalds to do it when he's the prohibitive frontrunner? No. And again...
I think it is incumbent upon him, actually. If this guy purports to want what's best for Florida, because, hopefully, supposedly, or we would hope that he's running for governor because he wants Florida to have a better future. And, if he's doing this for supposedly altruistic reasons or for unselfish reasons, then he should have no problem presenting himself at a debate. If he wants what's best for us and for Florida, he would do that. He would feel obligated to be at that debate, to give the Florida voters, us, as much information as they could possibly have, as much information and data and just enough so that we can compare between the candidates. He should be trying to give us the most. If he actually cares about, but he doesn't. He's a crook. He's a total Israel first scumbag. He's not even an American. The guy's from Panama. And it just pisses me off. And this is Ben Shapiro to a T. The guy will make, he's, oh, I'm so honest, this and that. Ben Shapiro, he will make excuses as, you know, as much as the day is long. Like if he wants to do something that he knows he shouldn't do, he'll just make an excuse. He knows that it's not in Florida's best interest for us to get for this guy to go to the debate. He wants Byron Donalds. The guy is tried and true Israel first. So he wants him in there. And it's like this, and that there, and I just kind of connected these dots. That is Ben's issue. The guy doesn't give a shit about any of us. He doesn't give a shit about other people. All he cares about is him and his. That's it. He don't give a damn about Florida, Floridians, any of that. All he cares about is that they get an Israel first shill to run our state. That's all he cares about. I hate this guy.
I think that, you know, like,
am I
going to disagrees with you
ever?
I know the governor disagrees with me. Sure. I mean,
even the governor,
just as
even DeSantis is like, yeah, he should debate.
There's sort of like what I would like to see in the best of all possible worlds. Sure, why not? I mean, everybody's running for governor. I'd like to see their opinions. Am I going to rip on the guy who's probably who's going to win anyway? I mean, like if people
not rip on him, not rip.
No, but I mean, am I going to say that he's doing something, you know, morally deficient in not debating James Fishback or something like again?
Well, you know, him not going to the debate basically lets us know this guy is a shill. This guy is a total stuff suit. Not only this guy is corrupt and crooked. This guy is crooked as a barrel of snakes. Crooked as a question mark. And we know this because it's not about providing his constituency with the most information or as much information as possible. It's about gathering power unto himself. Screw Byron Donalds.
If the public feels that way, they won't vote for him.
You know what my feedback on that is?
Mr.
The
Christopher Robin.
more you avoid that sit down, the more credibility you give Fishback.
Alex Robin.
I mean,
The more you know what it would
Maybe.
be. It
Absolutely. PBD is spot on. Spot on.
would be like to say something like, "You're scared." That audience, you know, the whole flip.
You know what's funny? Ben gets burned on these. He got burned on Nick when he pulled that crap. Watch him get burned on Fishback. Watch him get burned on Fishback because he did this. Watch. I mean, I'm not positive, but bro, it's like his MO. He writes people off, and then the chickens come home to roost, man.
You're scared. You're
this is the other thing. I think that everybody is way too online. Okay, so everybody
Way too what?
online.
Online. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that, you know, right now Fishback in the polls is what, 8%, 7%.
I think Collins is at 14. I don't know what the numbers are. I think Collins at 12, 13, 14, depending on which polls you're looking at. And then Fishback on some is 8, some is 12.
Okay,
But
so
yeah, they're way behind. It's not even close.
They're way the hell behind.
Sure.
And so like the idea that like, oh my God, we must hear from the guy who can't draw 1/10 of the Republican primary
Right.
vote.
So they're both shown at 12 if you use this Florida. I don't know which
Right,
poll
and I think this
is
is true on the online in the online debate sphere too. So I think this is applicable to a lot of the prior conversation. There is this dumb thing that has happened. I call it the Marty McFly in Back to the Future 2 thing, which is like, come on, McFly, you chicken? Right? Like if you won't debate this person, it's because you're chicken. It's like, what if I think that the debate is stupid and a waste of time? I mean, that's possible too.
Yeah, but these are, you think debate with Paul Collins, who's a lieutenant governor, and Fishback is I don't know. I don't know if it's stupid. I think there's a difference. You can make the argument and say, I don't want to sit down with Pierce Morgan. Okay, great. Yeah,
Right.
I don't want to go on Nick Fuentes. I get it. Tucker. I don't want to talk to Ben Shapiro. We've invited Tucker many times. He has no desire. No problem.
Exactly.
But-
By the way,
but
I've said
when
that
it's-
about Tucker. If Tucker doesn't want to come on my show, that's his right. He does not have to.
When it comes down to a debate of winning over the GOP, this position is unattractive. And I think it's a
If we hit that goal, I'll go late tonight. I might go to 2. You know, kind of feeling it.
It's a fair critique,
Yeah.
and it ain't gonna bother him one
Like and
ounce on his
subscribe
way
if you
to
haven't
becoming governor.
already,
I,
fellas.
I agree. I don't think it's going to make it.
I do want to say that I do appreciate you new subscribers. Appreciate you guys for joining the show.
Difference on that
So
part.
this goes back to maybe your blind spot is idealism and how much you
Absolutely,
would like to
big
see people
cat.
talk together. And now I'm being the pragmatist
Spot
and saying
on.
like, well, he's going to win
That's
anyway.
why
so,
these
yeah,
conversations
exactly.
are good. This is why these conversations are good. But yeah, Ben, great having you on. Is there
thank you
anything you want to share with anything you guys are working on?
Jeez, I messed up the order. There's still at least one more. At least one more left. He's not getting off that easy. There was way more than just what I've said so far.
Right now, project-wise?
It'd be more like interviewing Dave Chappelle or something, but like Nazi Dave Chappelle. Meaning, what does
he
Nick
already
believe?
went.
What does he?
He already did this. I already did this one, of course.
You would be more surprised on how he is one-on-one. By the way, just so you know,
I mean, again,
from the day he's been on my podcast,
I'm sure he's a very nice guy in a one-on-one.
from the day he was
Okay.
here with me, the interview,
Kind of did one. Well, I have one more. Let me make sure.
establishment name that you know,
Israel first, all this kind of
Israel
stuff.
first, all that kind of. Okay,
Okay, here we
so
go.
so okay, so
This is
then
a good one. Come on now. Gonna do me dirt like this tonight. Here we go.
And let me ask you a different question. So let's just say we had the technology to take everyone's, you know, New York Times has this article just came out. I'm sure you saw this. This was a couple days ago. And it's the MAGA media machine is fracturing. Okay. And if you go a little bit lower, YouTube views down. This is from early 2025 to today. This is across the board. X views down across the board. Rumble views down across the board. Probably that big drop off is when Dan Bongino took the job. I don't know when it is, but Dan was a big part of it. Across the board. Podcast listens down, and it's going down, and it explains different things. By millions, it gives numbers from you. They talk about Johnson, Bongino, Megyn Kelly, Tucker, Crowder, Walsh, Candace, Bannon, Fuentes, Shapiro, Poole, and Kirk. Those are the main names that they're looking at. And then they quote, you know, it seems that everyone in the space is experiencing a drop-off in the views from 2025. Fuentes said, seems as though 2025 was an anomaly, either due to organic interest or potentially artificial boosting. Okay, and then a part of it is Charlie Kirk passed away. Candace talked about that. So she went up there and they said Miss Owens saw her YouTube channel and podcast audience surge amid the controversy she has stoked other conspiracy theories before an end. Including falsehoods about the sex of Bridget Macron, wife, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And then she responds, it might be a conspiracy to some people, but it's not to me.
Yeah, that's.
I think I do a very good job, thorough in what I present to people. We spend a lot of time on research, hours and hours and hours on research. I would disagree with that assessment. And then they come with you, they talk about Blaze website. Anyways,
Yeah.
you look at this chart, go a little bit lower to the one that shows everybody's numbers with Bongino on the purple side and Fuentes' rise and fall. Not fall, but decreasing right here. And you kind of see everybody, right? What happened with them, where they are today. Bannon was high, he's out. So if we had the ability to take everyone's audience, Candace's audience, yours, Fuentes's, Tucker's, the main names, and we put a room of 100 people, take the millions, 100 people in that room. Who's in the room? What do they look like? How old are they? What denomination are they? Where they're from? What's their economic status? You know, you understand the question I'm asking?
I mean, it would be a different 100 people for each room.
I know it is, but what is your guesstimation of what that audience is that they've captured?
Like the broader conservative ecosystem, you mean? Or are you talking about for each individual host?
So
'Cause in some cases, these audiences are almost completely bifurcated. In some cases, you have crossover, right?
I understand that, but I don't think they're all the same audience.
No, I agree. I think there's a pool that was very large. I think that in off-year elections, obviously, right now it's sort of like asking how NFL ratings are in the middle of the offseason. I mean, right now, it's not the time when people are like, when it gets to 27, 28, people will re-engage because we'll be in a presidential race and then people will get back into it. But, and also we came off, I mean, it's a little unfair in the sense that 24 was the single greatest political year in the history of American politics, probably. I mean, it was just psychotic. Right? I mean, you had the sitting president of the United States go completely defunct in the middle of a presidential debate, drop out, be replaced in the middle of the campaign. You had President Trump make the single greatest political comeback probably in American history. And combined with all of that, you had inflation that was raging out of control. You had social issues that were really hot, like trans. Like it was kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity for ratings.
Okay.
And then you come off of that is going to be not as good.
I don't know. If maybe I'm not doing a good job asking the question.
Yeah.
So the question is, what does the audience look like? Like I used to go to and visit. My guys would put conventions in the month of December or January, and I would go to it. One of the guys was 48% African American, 28% Hispanic, and the average age was 42, married with kids. The other guy would go to, the average age was 24, young.
Oh,
even.
goodness.
Tucker is going to be predominantly older people who watch him on Fox, or predominantly younger people who are sort of aligned, Fuentes adjacent, shall we say. So again,
So you think he'll have some of the 17 to 24?
Sure.
Tucker. Okay.
of course, yeah.
Got it. Interesting.
I mean, which is why I think that he's treated Fuentes, alternatively warmly and coldly to apparently Nick's great consternation.
What would you speculate for Bongino?
I think Bongino's audience and my audience are probably fairly similar, although I would say that Dan's audience is probably a little more blue-collar than mine.
How about Walsh and Knowles?
So Knowles would be same age range, maybe cut slightly younger, perhaps. And I would say that Walsh is, again, probably more along Bongino's lines in terms of say income and educational breakdown.
Yeah. And so with this article, when you see something like this, what do you think is going to happen next?
I think that there will be ebbs and flows that go along with the success of particular political movements. I also think that there is some fun to oppositionality, meaning that, it'll be interesting to see what happens. There's what's good for America, and then there's what's good for the conservative media landscape. What's always good for the conservative media landscape is opposition, which is why I think so many people in the conservative media landscape, like Tucker, are pretty openly rooting for Democrats to do well in the upcoming elections. I would prefer to have lower ratings and not have Democrats run the country. But I think that that's a rarity.
You've been in it 25 years since 17, watching all of this like a sport, right? Who have you seen rise, fall, disappear? I've not been in this space that long. So have you seen any guys that were like rock stars, that were killing it, and then boom, they're out?
Sure. I mean, that's happened a few times. I would say a kind of good example, maybe Milo Yiannopoulos. Right, there was a point where Milo was like super hot back in 2015, 2016, and then he had a bit of a scandal with some audio talking about a priest abusing. So this is where, and it's a thing that I said while I was on the stage at TPUSA. For me, I don't watch this like a sport. The reason I say that is because a sport, in the end, your team wins, your team loses, and then you go about your daily life where actually you have problems. For me, these are real problems that have real solutions or real answers and require serious conversation. And so that requires a higher level of responsibility than simply aiming for the clicks. I mean, there's certain things. Let's say, for example, that October 7th somehow, made me a villain among a certain segment of the audience. Well, the obvious thing to do then would have been for me to swivel on my heel and just turn on all my principles and just reverse course. Right? I didn't do that. Okay, why didn't I do that? The easy solution would have been to do that. And the answer is because, for me, that's not how this works. I've taken a bunch of positions that my audience does not like, including the position that Donald Trump did not win the 2020 election. He did not win the 2020 election. I took the position that January 6th was bad because January 6th was bad. Right? I'm willing to say that stuff, and maybe it cost me audience. But this is why
you had a vaccine position as well, because my guys would typically, when I ask about Ben, so let me tell you, why don't you ask him about the vaccine?
Because, please ask me about the vaccine. For the love of God,
what
ask
was
me
your
about the vaccine.
position
Seriously,
about the vaccine?
my position on the vaccine from the beginning.
Bro, that wasn't sped up or anything. Listen to this, dude. This is unhinged, man.
Yeah.
From the beginning was that I was following what the data was, including the position that Donald Trump did not win the 2020 election. He did not win the 2020 election. I took the position that January 6th was bad because January 6th was bad. Right? I'm willing to say that stuff, and maybe it cost me audience. But this is why
you had a vaccine position as well, because my guys would typically, when I ask about Ben, so let me tell you, why don't you ask him about the vaccine? Because,
please ask me about the vaccine. For the love of God,
what
ask
was
me
your
about the vaccine.
position
Seriously,
about the vaccine?
My position on the vaccine from the beginning, was that I was following what the data was and what the government was saying about the data and what Pfizer was saying about the data. Mm-hmm. So I was very pro-vaccine for people who were older and had obesity. Okay, my own children, I did not vaccinate. I was never in favor of children being vaccinated. My company sued the federal government, unlike any of these other assholes, including the people at Fox News, who mandated that many of their employees get the vax. We did not mandate the vax at our company, and we sued the federal government to stop a vaccine mandate. So my own personal view on whether you should take the vaccine or not is irrelevant to my public policy view as to whether you should be forced to take the vaccine. Now, there's a tweet that again, people clip and goes viral.
Yeah, and that's it. But you know, I had a couple things I wanted to touch on before we hit the Tucker Carlson thing. But you know, there was a point in this where he says, you know, I don't really pay it. It's similar to what he was saying there. I don't really pay attention to a lot of stuff. He's like, you know, if I didn't have to, I wouldn't care, or I wouldn't do any of this stuff. I wouldn't pay attention. He's like, you know, like he was saying about running Daily Wire. He goes, if I could, I would, you know, if I could just stay home all day with my wife and my kids and just be with my family, I would, you know, but he's like, I have to do this, that, and the other. And it kind of hit me when he said that. But, you know, like when he said about the New York where, you know, this isn't a country where you just get to live where you grew up, you know, that you don't get to have that. And his callousness, you guys know what how cold he is. He's like somebody said, he's like a robot. The guy, he doesn't feel anything for anybody. And I'll tell you what it is. The reason why this guy comes off so uncaring and so cold and about this stuff, there's a reason for it. And the reason why he doesn't seem to have the same goals. He doesn't seem to care about the same stuff. It's because it's not that he doesn't seem to, he doesn't. This guy is not an American. He doesn't give a hoot in hell about this country. He doesn't give a hoot in hell about his state. He cares about what affects him and his family and his people. That is it. Ben Shapiro, you could not pay him to care about America. He already gets paid to care about it, and he doesn't. The guy only cares about his people and his escape hatch, as it were. And I mean, there was something that they were talking about where it was like something kind of cultural, and he was saying, you know, basically saying like he's not worried about it, or you know, or he doesn't have a problem with, you know, gay people. He has gay friends, and you know, he thinks that them adopting kids is wrong and this and that. But like, it's rules for thee, but not for me. He has one set of beliefs and rules that, he has an agenda for America, an agenda for himself. That's why he comes off so disconnected, because you expect him to be an American. You expect him to be a Gentile. You expect him to express some sort of stake in the country. Hey, I've been listening to him for a long time. You'll be disappointed every time. This guy doesn't care about this country. He doesn't care what happens to it. He doesn't care about us. And it comes off in the way that he talks and in his answers and stuff. You know, he doesn't care. He straight up doesn't, man, unless it affects him. And he doesn't care about the browning of America, except when the brown people are Muslim. Then he cares. You see what I'm saying? He doesn't care. He has no problem with seeing, like, and the only reason why he doesn't, like, he doesn't want America to fall is because Israel would not exist anymore. But other than that, it's like he wishes us ill. He pretends like he went to public school. No, he went to a Jewish day school. He said, I was in and out of public school, that's literally code, or let me translate that. Oh, I was in and out of public schools. Oh, I went to public school for a week one time. In Southern California, I went to private schools. Like, bro, this guy, and you know, it's totally reflective and representative of the tribe, of that people. That's how they are with everything. Absolutely 100%. That is how they don't care about us. And they don't, Ben, he doesn't even pretend like he has a stake in America. You know, and you, like I said, how he dismisses people coldly or attacks them or destroys them like he did with Fuentes, he can do that. He can be belligerent. He can be he can react like that because he doesn't care what happens. He's living in a country he doesn't care about, in a political system he doesn't care about, a people he doesn't care about. Because, like, if he got exiled from America with his wife and kids, he would be okay. He would be fine. And he knows that. And that's why he doesn't care, because he knows there's nothing we can do to him. There's nothing America can do to Ben Shapiro that he wouldn't be happy for, basically. You know, and he's willing to, he has the luxury of principle. You hear him, you know, like, I'm too high-minded when it comes to my principles. You know, I'm not going to sacrifice this and that when it comes to my show and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, bro, you can say that all you want, man. You can say that all you want, but it doesn't make it so, because, you know, he's in the business. What he does with himself is he fools himself. This guy loves fooling himself, loves talking himself into doing stuff, loves justifying things. You notice that's what this whole podcast was just a run-on sentence of Ben Shapiro, you know, stumbling and fumbling over his words, talking over Patrick Bette David, and justifying why he's a victim, why he is in the right. This guy, he is holy art than thou. That spells this dude to a T. That's who he is. And I got the distinct feeling through this whole podcast that he doesn't want to be there. He thinks it's beneath him to be there. Like, I could picture him saying, I can't believe I have to do this. You know, like when he would attack somebody, or he'd have a falling out with somebody, or he'd have a brush on X with somebody, you know, they have a bump heads, and then that's it. They've never spoken again, or they don't speak again. Whereas, you know, Nick with, what's his name, with that guy that was a fighter, the one that's punchy, the Palooka. I forget what his name is, but how many times have Nick and him like split and then kissed and made up like a good couple? How many times? What, 50? Like, people that actually care about other human beings don't just have one negative interaction and then that's it. That's totally indicative of Ben Shapiro just not caring. It's like he just doesn't give a damn about anything, bro, but his family. And, you know, he justifies that to himself. And all of this stuff. And, you know, that's his prerogative. He can do that. But it has cost him dearly. Homeboy is on this podcast right now because of his flippant attitude in regards to other human beings, in regards to other Americans, or Americans. He's not really one of us, but because he's so belligerent, he just doesn't care. He doesn't have a stake in any of this. You know, he just totally, he commits suicide, just kills his company off, basically. You know, this is not the behavior of somebody. Like, he's willing to blow all of this up if it would help Israel. Dude, he is literally a foreign agent. I mean, it's just, I basically, right before I said that, I made up my mind that is what it is. He is a foreign agent. Because that's the only, if he actually wanted this place to be a home, Jake Shields, exactly. If he actually wanted this place to be a home, who thinks this way? Who feels this way? Even if they're in some place, like, no matter where you live, it's your home. And, you know, you have to live around these people, like, but not him. Not him. This is somebody who's like here, living here and doing this because he has to, or because, you know, he's trying to, it's a means to an end. You know, that's the feeling I get from Ben Shapiro, that all of this doesn't mean anything to him. Nothing. He's doing it because he's obligated to. You know, he comes on this show Because for the last 10 years, every time he had a spat with somebody or said some boneheaded thing, instead of coming out like somebody, like everybody else, and apologizing or clarifying and explaining what they were saying, he hasn't done that one time. One time. This is the first time. And you can tell he's pissed. He's pissed that he has to do this. He can't believe it that he has to do this. That he has to pretend he cares what these American goyim, these disgusting, filthy goyim, that he has to actually pretend like he even acknowledges our existence. Like, bro, that is the air that I get from this guy. Just stink, like the air coming from a porta potty that's been like sealed in a, you know what I mean? Like, let that stink like marinade for 10 years. That's the air that I get off this guy. Ugh. I mean, bro, he just thinks he's like a god among men in America. He's a god among men. You know, I mean, that's the way it feels, man. That is the way it feels to me anyway. I mean, this guy, he's absolutely reprehensible. He does not deserve to be in our country. Not even close, man. All right, let's move on to Tuck. Old Tuck. I knew somebody. I used to do tree work for a guy named Tuck. Crazy old shot out crackhead. Crazy.
On your phone, and it's from Matt Walsh of the
Oops.
Wired. Here's the totality of what he wrote. Here's the whole tweet.
There we go.
And see if you. Grocery prices are.
Wait a second. Hold up. Stupid noise. What in there? You guys can hear this, right? Oh, no. Okay, good. Here we go.
And focus on this issue. It's one of the main reasons socialists are gaining power. So we can go through line by line and assess the variety.
Oh, before we go do this, I did want to say one thing. He just reminded me. But, you know, Ben Shapiro talking about communism this and Hassan Piker that and how the country's going to the dogs or whatever. And it's like, bro, you know who we have to thank for that? You. Because when people who need help or want advice come to you, you slap them down like some disgusting douchebag, like you did to Nick Fuentes. We are in this position because you are an uncaring, inhuman creature. I mean, this guy, he should not be allowed to speak as a conservative anymore because he does us a grave disservice. A grave disservice. You know, he is the reason why guys like Hassan and Mamdani are having success. Because he is such an uncaring, such a cold fish. I mean, he comes off like a Rockefeller. Like, filthy, unwashed goyim can't just turn to one of their J investors and get, you know, capital anytime they run out or anytime they need money. Disgusting. Go end yourself. I mean, that's how this guy behaves, man. It bothers me that he's allowed to speak as like people think he's like, oh, another thing too. He was talking about what conservatism is. He's like trying to say that, you know, he's not good at the shorts or the quick snippets. He's like, you know, like the difference between laissez-faire economics and conservatism, or, you know, courtesy or courteous conservatism, something like that. He's like, you know, you can't get that in a 30-minute short. I'm thinking to myself, Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Laissez-faire economics is an economic model. You know, it's look out for yourself more or less, you know. You don't have a safety net, but you don't have taxes either. Whereas historical conservatism, it's about prudently deciding and deciding what change is accepted. Because like that's the thing is as we go into the future, times change, technology changes, and they used to call it progress. It's actual progress. And we can't just say, nope, we're not doing that. No, we're like, we're reactionary. We're not, we won't take any progress, no change whatsoever. That's no. It's about picking and choosing what change you'll accept, what change fits with your society, with your culture. Prudently evaluating these changes as they come for whether or not they fit your culture, whether or not it's a change that should be resisted. That's not what he thinks. Conservatism is an economic model. That's what Ben thinks. It's an economic model. All this, people needing help, he wants to tell those people to shut up and get back to work. I mean, seriously. There's so much in that too that I could pick through. That's why I didn't play it, because we would have been here till 2 a.m. with just that video. I promise you.
City of each one of them, but it's just obvious looking at that every single word of that is true. Yes, grocery prices are rising. They're insane. Who hasn't gone to the grocery store in the last year and said, woo, really? $200? I didn't fill my cart. They're higher than they were. Now, there are all kinds of measures of inflation, famously the Consumer Product Index, the CPI, and a lot of them are skewed, some intentionally skewed, designed to hide the truth rather than illuminate it. But you don't need to consult any of them to get to what's actually happening. All you got to do is buy the things that you've always bought, a tube of Crest toothpaste, a jar of Skippy peanut butter, whatever's in your cart every week is more expensive than it was a year ago, 2 years ago, certainly more than it was 5 years ago. There is inflation in real terms, whether or not the government admits it, whether or not our political leaders want to own up to it or claim much reserved responsibility for it. Because yes, it's not organic, it's their fault, but it's real. It's real. So why is this a problem? Well, it's a problem because for a lot of people, it makes it hard to live here. The United States is suddenly an expensive country. If you've lived here your whole life, you probably have, for the most of your life, thought of it as a rich country. But an expensive country, that's the kind of place you go on vacation. That's Monaco or Barcelona. That's Tokyo. That's some place you take your family and then get home and say, woof, I don't have to pay those prices every day. Well, suddenly you live in that country. You live in an expensive country where people are worried about having enough money to pay the basic bills. Housing, food, insurance, medical, cars. It's all much more expensive than it was.
And like Ben Shapiro, he's in politics, and this is what politics is about, what Tucker's talking about. But to hear Ben say it, it's like, bro, this is not the place for this. Politics is not the place. And it's kind of crazy. It's like, bro, you don't belong here. You should not be talking about politics, because obviously politics doesn't, you define it differently, obviously.
Then he goes on to say, stop these stupid foreign wars and focus on this issue. Well, that's obvious. Why wouldn't you want to do that? Now, why would you want to do that? Well, because in a democracy, your job, if you're a leader, is to represent the people who elected you, which is to say to take their concerns to Washington and try and do something about them, fix their problems. That's why you're there. That's the whole purpose of our government. It doesn't exist to serve itself, much less a foreign.
And this is the last thing I'm going to say, about Ben, is this is kind of the critique on Ben. I want my thought leaders, I want my streamers and content creators, I want them to advocate for me. I want them to advocate for me and the things that affect me. Ben Shapiro, that's not his thing. He advocates for himself and for Israel. For everyone else, go to hell. That's how he feels.
Country, it exists to serve its population. That's literally the whole point. There is
no Tucker. He grows his own groceries, don't you? Or no. Actually, no. He pays his housekeeper to grow his own groceries. So technically, yeah, his household staff does get the groceries, but they grow them.
no other point. And so if people across the country of all parties are saying grocery prices are insane, then you should probably think long and hard about what to do about that, if you can. And there's no poll taken in the last year that shows that people are more concerned about the Iranian nuclear program or Islamic Jihad or some Muslim group far away than they are about the price of Skippy peanut butter. There's no poll that shows that because the majority doesn't feel that way. And why would it? Who cares about Islamic Jihad?
Oh, yeah, perfect.
Honestly,
That's
who
a good
really
one, Louis.
cares about the Iranian nuclear program? Not compared
Straight
to
up,
your
bro. Straight up. Who cares? Except for Ben.
ability to live here or remain solvent through an illness or send your kids to school or even go on vacation. Those are the real concerns that people have, and why wouldn't they be? And then the final line, the reason socialists are succeeding, and they are, says Matt Walsh, is because the people in charge, which would be Republicans at this point, are ignoring these issues. He's blaming inattention by our leaders for the rise of socialism. Is that a controversial thing to say? Is that untrue? Of course, it's entirely true. And it's always been true. There has always been a movement for socialism, however defined, in the United States, certainly since the mass migration of the turn of the last.
My dad used to say this every so often when I was growing up, but half of America has always been communist. Always. My dad had maintained that my entire life, as far back as I can remember. Anytime I would say something like that, he goes, "Hell, Justin, America's always been half communist." Always.
Century, there has been a vibrant socialist movement, small but active. And one of the aims of both parties, and they both agree on this, is to keep it at bay. Now, how do you do that? Well, mostly not with force, by stealing the issues. So the claim that socialists make is we care about you. And we want to make sure you have enough money to live here without.
And this is why Ben constantly calls Tucker a socialist, because he cares about what happens to Americans. Because the dude behaves and acts as though he has a stake in the American culture and American society. So therefore he must be a socialist.
Worrying unduly. That's the core claim. And they may be against Thanksgiving and for transgenderism or whatever insane idea they're for, and a lot of them are for those ideas. But their fundamental pitch is an economic pitch, and the pitch itself is not crazy. Their solutions may not work, but the pitch they make to voters is very straightforward, and anybody can understand it. You don't have to be a socialist to agree. I'm certainly not a socialist. But why wouldn't I want leaders who care what Skippy peanut butter costs? Well, of course I would. And this has been recognized forever. A chicken in every pot. I mean, that was the promise of the Herbert Hoover for President campaign in 1928. His supporters said, elect Herbert.
For the gospel bird on Saturday night, when you'd have your vicar, priest, pastor, father, padre, when you'd have them over on Saturday night to have, that's why they call it the gospel bird, because it was like a chicken dinner with your pastor. And chicken in the pot, that's a big deal, because a chicken, it's like a dream that can come true. Same with like a loaf of bread. It's something that is within reach. That's a goal that can be achieved.
And there'll be a chicken in every pot. In other words, we'll lower the price of Doritos with Skippy peanut butter. Now, he made that claim 1 year before the Great Depression, made it a lot harder to put a chicken in every pot. But even before the Depression, Hoover supporters knew, just like any awake person would know, that economic concerns are the core concerns of voters and ignore them at your peril. And by the way, there was a socialist candidate that year in 1928, Norman Thomas, who by modern standards was totally moderate. By the way, he was a Presbyterian minister, kind of a wet liberal. Moderate. He was hardly a transgender activist or an anti-white hater or anything like that. He didn't want to ban Thanksgiving. But he wanted to make sure that people's material needs were met, and that's not a crazy goal.
See, like, thank goodness Tucker's out here, because you know what Tucker's doing? He's hammering home. He's saying, look, we can, he's trying to talk to people on the left, the whole country, and saying, look, we see how you're feeling. We can solve your problems, or we can do just as good of a job as these DSA scumbags, as these brown scumbags. We can do just as good as that. We don't have to do the communism thing. It's like, and if our politicians had just not been such scum and tried to just crush us under their boot heel and actually tried to solve some problems, we wouldn't be here. But they have just turned a deaf ear, a cold shoulder to the American people. Year after year, it has been too long, and now they're saying, "Screw you! We'll go around you. Then we'll find, if you won't do it, we'll find somebody else that does, and you're not going to like it." You know, and the politicians, they have nobody else to blame but themselves. Israel, they have nobody else to blame but themselves. If we get a bunch of Muslim socialists that totally, you know what I mean, like. That's their fault. They messed up. They tried to kill our country, our political system. Yeah, I mean, thank goodness that Tucker's out there at least saying, hey, I feel your pain, but we don't have, break glass. It's like a break. I guess they've broken the glass in case of emergency, and now they're voting for these people. But it's like Tucker's trying to bring them back from the brink. Hey, we don't have to turn over the check or the chessboard here. We can figure this out. Let's sit down like adults and talk this out. Let's figure this out. Let's find some common ground and figure out how we can both get what we want.
To keep him from getting into power, or people like him, the Hoover campaign promised that they would pay attention to food prices. Doesn't mean that they were tools of socialism. Actually, it meant they were opponents of socialism.
Right.
Because they knew that if they didn't pay attention, you could conceivably get a socialist. Norman Thomas didn't do very well that year, probably because Herbert Hoover took the threat seriously. So this is not a new idea at all. It's the oldest idea because it's the most obvious idea. If you don't attend to people's actual concerns, they will go elsewhere. And in a purportedly democratic system, they have a whole range of options, by the way.
Yep.
Most of which we haven't been presented with in recent history. But it could get pretty radical here. Why wouldn't it? And so you probably shouldn't ignore those
Not
concerns.
in our lifetime, certainly.
That's all Matt Walsh was trying to say. He works at the Daily Wire. He's not a wild-eyed radical. But you would have thought he was reading the Communist Manifesto on air and burning an American flag, given the response from his fellow conservatives, other elements of the MAGA coalition. Rather than just, ignoring him. If you disagree with someone, you always have the option to just ignore him. I didn't hear what you said. Sorry.
Right.
Rather than just ignoring him, or maybe even smarter, paying lip service to agreement. Yeah, no, Matt Walsh makes a smart point. Like, people care what their groceries cost. Normal people care. Maybe you even find out what groceries cost and then play a more elaborate role. And, I was at the grocery yesterday and boy, prices are high. We're going to do something about that. You would think they would do that.
Right.
But that's the opposite of what they did.
Yeah.
And by they, I mean the neocons, the people who are in charge of the Trump administration now, not the people who came in with Trump, but the people who somehow took control of the Trump administration and turned it in a totally different direction from the one most of us voted for. Those people attacked Matt Walsh. And not just Matt Walsh, but the idea that it is legitimate, that it's allowed, that it's within bounds to complain about food prices. What's
Wow.
wrong with you?
That's disgusting.
Complaining about food prices?
Down with these people.
We're going to play you a clip from someone
Scum.
from whom we try not
Evil.
to play a lot of clips. It's Ben Shapiro. We're going to play it in just a sec. But before we do, just a caveat. We're not playing this to suggest that Ben Shapiro was like a shaper of history, a mover in American politics. He's not. He's an employee like most everybody else. He's doing what he's told. He represents larger interests, obviously. So
Hell
why
yeah.
bother
Get
to
him.
replay and then rebut something that Ben Shapiro said?
Ben Sugarlip
Well, in
Shapiro.
an effort to speak to the people who put him up to it. So the whole point of Ben Shapiro,
Sugar Lips.
and there is a point to Ben
Shapiro.
Shapiro, this is not like some organic phenomenon. Like Ben
No.
Shapiro was just so charming and brilliant that he somehow got into Harvard Law School and then eyebrows and all emerged as a social media titan. No, of course not.
No.
Ben Shapiro had a deal with Facebook, a deal no one else got.
Yeah.
And so the point of Ben
Cornered the
Shapiro
market.
was, here's a way to send a very specific message to outline and sell a very specific worldview to young people. Ben Shapiro is an old person's idea of a young person.
Yep.
He is a spokesman for a group of older people aimed
That are
at younger
evil.
people. I have an idea. Let's get Ben Shapiro. This guy, Ben Shapiro, he's brilliant. He's a really promising
phenomenal.
young kid. And we'll get him to sell free market economics and a robust Reaganite foreign policy to the young folks. And by the way, it kind of worked for a while, thanks to the trans movement, which you
Yeah.
suspect they also kind of concocted, this same group. But whatever, wherever that came from, for a while, Ben Shapiro seemed like he was on the side of common sense, and he's for free speech, and he's against the trans lunacy, et cetera, et cetera. But
Right.
always, from day one, the point was Ben Shapiro is going to sell this very specific version of economics, not capitalism.
Yeah.
It bears no resemblance to anything Adam Smith advocated for, but the kind of modern American monopoly arrangement where six companies can behave like countries, have sovereignty, unlike our own
Basically,
nation.
They basically own our asses. Google and a few other companies, they own us lock, stock, and barrel. It's like it's like they're time sharing a ranch and we're the stock. They literally all share a timeshare ranch in Southern California, and we're just the stock that came with it. That's how they behave and treat us. Filth, man.
Control every part of your life through debt, which is kind of broad but fairly accurate definition of our current economic system. So sell that, and then sell the even harder to pitch idea that it's unpatriotic to oppose wars for Israel. Like, first of all, it's obviously anti-Semitic. I mean, it's just an expression of hate. If you don't want to regime change some country you can't find on a map, obviously you're a bigot. You're basically a Nazi. In fact,
Yep.
you must be for Hitler. You probably are opposed to the Second World War too. You probably have problems with Churchill. It's literally immoral to oppose Ben Shapiro's employer's foreign policy. But it's also un-American. Like, this country was founded to fight wars for Israel. That's why we're here.
That's the way they
And there are a lot of
behave.
pictures of it. And
Just kind of slow. Maybe I should have played the whole interview. Shoot. Kind of how it's feeling anyway. What in the hell is going on here?
I mean, it's just an expression of hate. Just for fun sometime, you ought to fly from Kennedy Airport in New York to Narita Airport in Tokyo. Spend a day wandering around New York. Do the whole city. How about just Manhattan? Just Washington Heights to Tribeca. Just walk it. You can do it. It's not very long. It's a day walk. And then go to Tokyo, one of the biggest cities in the world. Now, Tokyo is the city that lost. Actually, we dropped 2 nuclear weapons on Japan. So they really lost. We actually vaporized them, all their kids too. No country's ever lost like Japan lost in the summer of 1945. But walk around Tokyo after a day of walking around New York. Which city looks like it lost a war? It's not Tokyo. So in order to convince people to go die for a cause, probably you should convince them the cause is worth dying for. But which cause has been worth dying for? Honestly, dying, like actually dying. Or how about getting your face blown off?
Yeah, no.
How about your ears melted off your head? Losing all your fingers? How about having your genitals shredded?
I tell you, the only cause that I can think of that would be worth dying for, as far, I mean, to right now, is making sure America stays a majority American country. You know, that it's that the possession of America remains in Americans' hands. That I would be willing to die for. 100%. 100%. But the rest of this stuff they've been talking about in the establishment, man, they can go pound sand. They must be, I mean, they're crazy. They're crazy. And then they pretend like like we're not being replaced. It's like, bro, of all the things to fight and die for, it's the stuff that you sons of bitches refuse to talk about, acknowledge, or admit that this is what you're doing. You know, like, I'm not fighting and dying for those bastards, though.
What cause is worth that? Well, if it's worth it, tell me how. Tell me how it's worth it, because we don't speak German? A lot of Americans don't speak English at this point.
Yeah. Bro, it's like, well, yeah, we're not speaking English either. Like, maybe a few of us are. Well said, Tucker. What? Well said. Absolutely, bro. Couldn't have put that better myself. Like, oh, at least we're not speaking German. Like, bro, I think I would rather be speaking German or hearing people around me speaking German than, Spanish or Hindi or Arabic. I think I would prefer that. Or like Assyrian, Iranian, Persian, broken English. Yeah. Screw that, man. I don't want to hear that crap. And like have to have some douchebag like PBD, like what's his name said earlier in the stream, this guy sitting on his high horse and speaking this garbage broken English to our people. It's just, it's a tragedy.
Tired and stupid, in fact, nonsensical talking points, but they're also more than that. They're deeply insulting. You are lecturing a population that you personally have taken advantage of.
Dude.
Total destruction you have overseen, and you've done nothing to stop.
Tucker is on fire, dude. Wow. I've never seen Tucker like this. Never have.
You did nothing when the Sacklers flooded Appalachia, the part of the country that disproportionately fought the wars that you called for, and destroyed them with opioids. You said nothing. You said nothing when this country was invaded, and its trillion-dollar military didn't stop that invasion. And for you to lecture the rest of the nation about a can-do attitude, what do you make my freaking burritos then? It's too much. And then to cap it off with the lie that you and every other person in the media is now repeating that Iran is trying to assassinate President Trump. As a statement of fact, that is not true. So they're now telling us that Donald Trump was the target of an assassination attempt by a guy with a man-pad, a surface-to-air missile, inside the security perimeter in Ankara, Turkey, during the NATO summit. That's not true. That's factually untrue. And they'll lie about it. Oh, you don't have the intel. Well, actually, some of us have called around.
Wow.
Untrue. So why are they reporting that? Well, of course, like so much that you read and see on television or on the internet, it is the product of a propaganda campaign designed to change the course of events on the ground. A propaganda campaign designed to convince Donald Trump that he has to restart major combat operations against Iran because they're trying to kill him personally. And so they tell him, as they have been for more than a year, ever since the Butler shooting, Iran did it.
Wow.
You need to get in a separate aircraft. You need to be moved on the tarmac inside a drink cart because they're going to assassinate you at any second.
Bro, now that he mentions it, all of these near misses, that's what they've been doing. They have been working on Trump like nobody's, whoa. Wow. Oh, shit. Wow. Bro. You give it up to Tucker. Kudos to Tucker. you know, this, bro, this may be, I mean, this is profoundly, like, I haven't seen this from an establishment person. I don't know if maybe even in my whole life. This is incredible.
And why are they telling Trump that, who apparently believes it? It's not true, by the way. That is a lie. They're telling him that because they think that if they can make it personal, that Trump will have a stake, an emotional stake in continuing this war against Iran, which the United States, to restate, cannot win. How do we know we can't win it? Because we haven't been able to open the Strait of Hormuz.
And they want to get him, like rabid. They're trying to get him to a place where he'll want to go all the way on his own. And he'll, like, wow, bro, how evil, man. This is pure evil. Like, true, in real life evil, man.
Despite having a fleet of vessels that can't even approach the Iranian coast. So rather than pausing and ask, why are we spending $1.5 trillion a year on a defense budget, or now a war budget, that is unable to beat what we were told is a second-rate or third-rate military, a third-world country run by primitives who murder gays by throwing them off the roof, and we can't even open a piece of water so 20% of the world's energy can flow through? How's our military doing? Shut up. Not one moment,
dude,
of reflection
holy
or self-awareness even. Not one moment of asking the obvious questions about our own failures that the rest of us paid for, have gone into debt for. One of the reasons you can't buy a cheap burrito unless Mark Levin makes one for you, and we hope he will. We hope he has that can-do attitude that gets him in your kitchen rolling you a burrito for free.
That fat rolling.
But in the event he doesn't do that, it's going to cost you more than it used to buy a burrito. Why? Because the country's too in debt. Why? Well, the main driver of debt, foreign wars. That's a fact. The main driver of debt, foreign wars. Our discretionary budget, it all goes to war. Wars we don't win. Wars that are being waged not because the public wants them, but because Mark Levin is calling for them on behalf of the interests of a foreign country.
And what's crazy is we fought these wars. These wars, we weren't fighting them to win them. Never were. They never gave a damn about even having a goal or a way to say or a way to know that it's over. These wars were just like ongoing stealing, embezzling, Israel. I mean, it wasn't to win a war. We're over there to do other stuff for other countries and other shady people and groups, not to win a war, not to accomplish the goals of the American, not even close, man. Our military hasn't been used for that probably since the 19th century. To be honest, our military, it hasn't been used for our best interest and to protect us, bro, since the 19th century.
Fact. And to continue that, they're now laying this lie, this head trip on the president. Oh, they're trying to assassinate you on the tarmac. Better get in the drink cart and sneak on to another aircraft. And a lot of Americans are just like believing it because they're telling him that. Oh, Mark Levin, yeah, assassinating the president. Okay. Killed thousands of Americans. Okay. You must have missed that part where they were sending opioids into Appalachia. I don't think that was the Iranians who did that.
Yep. Absolutely.
In any case, it's worth at this point.
And bro, they did it to my state too. It ravaged my state, killed all my friends, bro. I lived in the pill. They called my state the pill mill state, where every other state of our country on the mainland did road trips to come cop dope and pills from my state. That's how bad it was. I think my state gave out more pills, I think, than all other states combined, like times 3. I know there's a lot of old people here, but old people they're not popping opiates like Pez. They just straight up, it's like they just decided, these people, they need to die.
Taking a step back and assessing really the root problems here. So inflation is real. No one wants to admit it because the policymakers caused it. It's not something that just naturally happens. Inflation is what happens when you mistreat the currency that you don't own. it belongs to the American public, you're in charge of it, and you use it for your own benefit and not theirs. And you have short-sighted thinking that in the end
They might
destroys
kill
nations,
Tucker.
and it's destroying ours. So if you've got a small business, you
I could
know
see
that
it
cash has to keep
happening.
flowing or else you go out of business. And sometimes you just need capital to buy inventory, all pulling your attention in various directions to get started.
Much, much worse.
Why?
So it is because we've been going through a restructuring of the economy for many decades. This is
Yeah, we're just at the end of a timeline, the end of a restructuring period. You know, they've literally been stripping our country out, selling off the assets, pumping up the stock market with all this money, using our country as a piggy bank.
building for many decades. One, we start off with a model where we have a debt-based currency, and that debt basing forces huge expenses that you don't have to have. That's number one. But number two, we've run our fiscal economy in ways that I would describe as a financial coup d'etat. And as we've pulled resources out of the economy, we have consolidated ownership and control in a way.
Well, it's like literally almost verbatim what I just said too, like stripping our country out, you know, pumping up the stock market, consolidating power and control into just a few individuals. I mean, it's on par with like the Soviet Revolution or the Russian Revolution. Like that's how big of a change we've gone through and are going through. You know, they have just totally, and they say, "Oh, we're against communism, this and that." No, they did exactly what the Soviets did, only they didn't even pretend to care about anybody. They did what the Soviets did, stripped everything out, sold it all off, and then pocketed everything. And if we say anything, anti-Semite, un-American, communist, scumbag, bro, it's enough. I mean, it's enough to make you ashamed.
That forces expenses, or it lowers the income for the general population and it raises their expenses. And this has been a intentional consolidation of ownership and control. And now you're seeing the results that result in people being squeezed in a variety of ways. So I'm describing a change in the financial model, this centralization of power and economic control.
That's why they got rid of manufacturing. We've gone to insurance, selling, you know, and Kalshi and Poly Market. They sold off all of our jobs because they want us. They hate us. They said they don't need their jobs anymore. They can get along on, you know, begging. They can get along begging from us. So they just sold off everything.
And it involves many different things throughout the economy. But the important thing to understand is it was a plan, it's intentional. And if you look at where we are, it's going to take many, many things to change it, because it comes with tremendous and explosive changes in technology, which can be used to create great prosperity, but can also be used to consolidate control in a way
Yeah.
that benefit the few and destroy the many.
So as I hear your big picture description of this transition through which we're moving, the first thought that comes to mind is, boy, that sounds a little bit like what happened after the Soviet Union collapsed in the summer of 1991.
Oh, boom.
And all of a sudden, Russians woke up 10 years later and all state industries were owned by a small group of people. It was
Correct.
Yep.
That's kind of what it sounds like.
Well,
Where they literally stripped out the entire military and sold it to Nicolas Cage in Lord of War. Yeah, that's what they've been. I mean, the cat is pretty much out of the bag already. These scumbags, they sold the farm out from under us.
generally, I mean, I'm grossly oversimplifying, but if you look at the people who did it's called the rape of Russia,
Yes.
you know, it's a similar group. And I'll give you a
Yep.
story. I was in the city of London making a presentation in 2001, and I'd been asked to speak about what I call piratization in the United States, the consolidation of the real estate and housing market. So I'd been the Assistant Secretary of Housing.
Wow.
And I gave the presentation, and two presentations followed, one by Ann Williamson, who had been covering Russia for the Wall Street Journal during the rape of Russia. And she got up and gave a presentation. And then John Laughlin, who's a remarkable British commentator now in Paris, stood up and did the same on what had happened in Eastern Europe. And the three of us went into shock, as did many of the investors in the room, because we realized it was the same firms, the same law firms, the same intelligence agencies,
Wow.
and what they were doing in Eastern Europe and in Russia and in the United States was a very similar game. We have a big presentation.
And it's like, because we do the laissez-faire anything where we let any businessman and their brother come into our country, we let in a bunch of parasites and snakes that stole everything that wasn't nailed down.
Theory called plunder. But they were basically going in and plundering, and it was one plan. It wasn't three different plans or three different groups. It was a process of consolidation of the economies
Of the
in all
world.
three places.
Except for
And
China.
basically a privatization.
See, China was smart. They knew we don't want to play with these disgusting people. They chose to suffer for 100 years so that they wouldn't have to bow to this disgusting government of ours.
Of the nation's resources.
Well, here's the thing. Privatization, Tucker, is when I transfer an asset or involve corporations in a service at a market price. Privatization is when I transfer an asset to a private party at 10 cents on the dollar.
Yes.
So at a below market price. And what we've been watching by and large around the world is privatization, not privatization.
Well, like when the mafia busts out a restaurant by burning it down and collecting insurance money. It's a lot like it.
Or plunder.
What criminals?
The looting. And thank you for that distinction, because that seems important. So it's not simply a matter. So I think many of us on the right were sold on the idea that government is inefficient, which is a easy case to make because it's true. And in order to make the system, the government, more efficient, we need to privatize things, and the public benefits and the market rules apply. And so it's fair and transparent, and it just works better. That is the case, I think, that free market economists made throughout the 80s and 90s.
So it's so funny. I wrote a piece about this sort of privatization at the time, and it later became an online book I wrote called Dylan Reed and the Aristocracy of Stock Profits. And when I first sent it to I was working with this firm in London, the head of research just started laughing, and he said, I've always believed that government is inefficient and the solution is to bring in more private, more private capacity. And he said, I'm reading this, and what I realize is, what is going on is the private guys are just using the government to pay themselves huge and hideous profits above market in a way that's destroying markets. So we have these public-private partnerships that involve huge corruption, huge grift, and aren't productive at all. But the spin they use is what you just described.
Boy, it's a very effective argument, and it certainly fooled me. It definitely fooled me. So how does that trend that you just described cause inflation?
So for example, and there are thousands of different examples, but one of the things that drive prices up is when you have consolidation into monopolies or duopolies. And so if the Department of Justice is simply not enforcing antitrust, you're going to get consolidation and monopoly pricing.
Wow.
The best example, of course, is the bailouts. So according to the Levy Institute, there were $29 trillion on the bailouts. And what did we see? We saw a group of financial institutions engage in massive mortgage fraud and financial fraud.
Oh, yeah.
As a result, we had $29 trillion of bailings, which does run up the debt quite a certain amount. And then what happens? They get the benefit of more access to the federal credit, special
bailouts,
all sorts of special dispensations. And coming out of the financial crisis, they have a major, much bigger market share, right?
Wow.
Yes.
And so not only did they get $29 trillion of bailouts, but suddenly they shifted their market share up dramatically in a way that gives them monopoly pricing power. Okay. And so, and that was combined, for example, in the financial area with changing the laws in 79, 80 to allow essentially usury. So, so for
They're the chickens are going to come home to roost because of this. They must realize that. Eventually human beings are going to figure out a system, where that isn't allowed. I mean, maybe there's a reshuffle every century, like the Great Depression. But these people got to be stripped of their money at some point. They can't just be allowed to pretend like they're the monopoly guy and just kind of doing their thing. Like, no, this is bullshit. Total bullshit. Like, we don't have to be at the mercy of these jackals. Why should we be? Why should we be? These, like, they accrue all this money just so they can pretend to play God. No. And people, it wouldn't affect people's ambition if you punished the guy that's got $1 trillion. You know what I mean? Like, strip that guy down to a smaller sum. Like, it's like, really, it's not like punishing the wealthy. It's like it's saying, hey, when you get to this point, you've got to be pared back down because you've got too much power. You have more money than you know what to do with. And it's like you're like a kid with his daddy's shotgun. And, we need to give you a Red Ryder toy gun with no BBs, basically, because if that's not the case, they own everything. They own all of the real estate on the planet. They own all of the politicians. Tell me, I mean, I'm not a communist, but that's not going to work. It's not going to work. They will just end up owning the world at some point. At some point, we will be slaves and they will own the world. Like, if you just keep letting them consolidate like this, at some point, they will own you. When they own everything, whether they own you or not, it's moot. It's the same thing. And, it can't stand. Like, no, this isn't right. And this isn't capitalism. And this isn't free market. Like, nobody from history would say that this is a good idea, would say that, you've got to take this. This is laissez-faire economics. This is capitalism. You have to roll over and take it. We don't have to do shit.
Example, as I told you, I went from a process of being a multimillionaire to having a very rich cash flow every month to having to live on $2,000 a month and bring down my companies and run my companies with that on the $2,000.
Oh.
And when things are really desperate, I used to always get a credit card in the mail from JP Morgan Chase for $300 with a $50 sign-up fee and then 30% interest rate.
Wow.
And it was, you're in the
Evil.
corner, according to the Department of Justice, you have to be in Washington in 2 days, and suddenly you magically get this credit card which will finance your trip for 50% interest rates when you combine in the fee.
So this is
Wow.
when you
Evil.
were being prosecuted by the Department of Justice after you left government yourself.
Yeah. So I had a company, Hamilton
Wow.
Securities Group, which was working as the lead financial advisor to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And we were essentially responsible for making sure portfolio strategy was done properly, as well as doing loan sales. And we were essentially stopping money from disappearing out of the back door of HUD. And so to get rid of us, we were targeted in this process.
Oh, wow.
And interestingly enough, after
Evil.
they did get rid of us and the public officials we were working with, suddenly massive amounts of money started disappearing from the HUD financial
Oh, of course.
systems. And, it's typical in government. You've got to get the honest people out if you're going to grift in a major,
Oh,
major
yeah.
way. And that's what happened anyway. But we had 18 audits and investigations, 12 tracks of litigation, a smear campaign, and physical harassment. And the goal, of course, was to catch us doing something, was to prove that we had done something wrong. And it got it went on for a long time because they could never prove anything, and they tried to falsify documentation. We caught them, and then it turned into a very long process. So, and ultimately
Yeah, well, we're starting to, like we're starting to get an idea of how different things are going to be going forward, and the distinction between communism and none of that really matters anymore. It doesn't really matter anymore. Life as we know it isn't going to continue. It's going to be so totally different. Like that's what it is. It's like, bro, there isn't going to be capitalism really. It's not going to be like that anymore. Like, no, this is done. No, there needs to be a leveling of the field. The field needs to be leveled. And just like those guys say, if they really deserve it and they really earned it, they'll make it back in no time. Will they not? That's what they tell us, They say if they took all the money in the world and they divvied it up equally, that the money, it would be, by the end of the year, the money would be right back in the same rich people's hand as it was before they took the money. Well, let's put that to the test, shall we? I'm game. You can have all my money. Like seriously though, it's like, dude, we'll see. I mean, I'm sure Elon Musk would make out like a bandit. I mean, he would be fine. Why wouldn't? Of course he would be fine. The dude, he actually makes value for that money. He's the richest guy in the world, and the guy has provided an equal value to us. This dude bought X. Well, I mean, that's what we know anyway. I mean, but he bought X, Tesla's space. I mean, I think he's earned it, honestly, or earned plenty. I'm sure he probably wouldn't argue with giving up some, honestly. But regardless, though, like, they say that, oh, they would make it back. They would end up with the money. It's the people that are poor are bad with money. Well, put that to the test. You're the one that's so sure of it. You're so sure of yourself. You're so smug. You tell everybody how you deserve this and you earned it, and you could do it again. It wasn't luck. You earned it. It wasn't luck. Remember, you didn't hit the lottery. You could make that happen again. Well, then do it. Show us. Really and truly. And going for, it's like, at this point, it's like, bro, are we even going to have a country, in 10, 15 years? Like, really, what would we be preserving? It maybe, I tend not to be, I tend not to want handouts and stuff regardless, but like, and I just tend to disagree with Mom Donnie, or at least on the communist stuff, but it's like, at this point, I'm not sure I really care all that much. They're the ones that pretend like it's no big deal, and this, it's like, then if it's no big deal, we'll take everything then, you don't need all that. If it's really no big deal and you got it, it wasn't a fluke. But no matter what, regardless of all that other stuff, they can't be permitted to have this much power as a private citizen. There's too much of a disparity here between the average person, the average government employee, the average politician. There's too much between the two. The guy up here, he has enough money to literally give every single federal politician in our government more money than 3 generations of his family could spend. So when you can buy and sell every single elected politician 10 times over with just one billionaire, yeah, that's not acceptable. How can you allow somebody like that to exist in a democratic world where, you know, they can basically legally bribe politicians, where the people, like, how can these people, their money, it's like, and they say, oh, well, everybody gets one vote. It's like, not them. Not them. They can lobby every politician. There's no limit. They don't just get one politician they can lobby. They can, like George Soros, put that money to work, and they basically own your government. They own your asses, man. Like, remember all the criminals being let out by those DAs? Bro, this, like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And you know, the founding fathers, they weren't privy to this. People with this kind of wealth were kings. They outright owned a country and a people. Bro, it doesn't work, man. It doesn't work. And if they're not going to give on this, well, then what's the point of even doing the whole system? We may as well be in like a we may as well be in some other communism or something, because what we have now is worse. It's worse. It's worse, man. It is absolutely worse. By far worse. And honestly, I you know, that's truly how I feel about it. It's like, bro, I don't want to participate in this system anymore. It's not capitalism. It's not what the founding fathers like had in mind. It's not even close to that. They have twisted and deformed so much of the architecture and the infrastructure of our government and our country. It's a joke, man. It's a farce. You know, they don't. It's not like they don't have to pay tax. Like there's so many loopholes. They have figured out everything they need to know to do whatever they want, whenever they want. You know, money, it needs to go in politics. You know, I didn't used to believe this, and I didn't, you know, it took me a long time because Cenk says it, and it took me a long time to come around to it, but he's right. He's right, man. You know, and it's like we talk about all this huge change. Oh, AI is going to revolutionize the world. We're not going to have money anymore, this and that. At the same time, nobody is talking about even just tweaking our country and our system of governance. We're talking about a world-changing technological breakthrough where currency no longer exists or has value, and nobody says maybe we should, you know, retool our government, our financial system. Maybe we should rework things a little bit to suit this. It's not just a coincidence. It's not just because it's slipped everybody's mind. Like, bro, we're literally on the verge of, like, who knows what. But a lot of change. A lot of change. More, and I've heard it said, and I believe it, a more radical change than has ever taken place for for mankind. Like, this will be the greatest change that human beings have ever experienced. And we're just going to keep going. We're going to keep chugging along with the same piece of shit government. Bro, it's absurd. It's ridiculous to even sort of say that. You know, and these crooked ass politicians, they probably think they're going to get away with that too. They probably think, oh, shit, we've almost got it, man. We're almost gotten away with it, man. Can you believe this? Do you think you think they're going to last minute say something, or you think we're going to get that? Like, bro, and they talk about putting AI in space. They talk about putting AI in space and how we're so close to putting AI in space. Bro, when they put AI in space, that's when human beings are gone. Like that's the end of life. That's the end of it. That's the end, bro. That is the end. Then there's legitimately a God up in the sky, or, sort of, like, it's blasphemy, but like, it'd be like God with a magnifying glass over ants. Because once it gets up into space, it has unlimited energy. We could never shut it off. We could never shut it off. And if it was AI, AGI, it'd probably figure out a way to stop us from leaving Earth, from ever getting back into space, shooting us down or whatever, hacking stuff. But we would never be able to touch it, and it would have unlimited energy until the sun died. Does that sound like progress to you, or does that sound like enslavement? Like, what kind of a moron thinks that that's, like, are you, like, they want Skynet. They want the Terminator. It's freaking crazy, man. It's almost like maybe we're just destined to end up like Terminator, fighting a bunch of machines in a post-apocalyptic battlefield. Wouldn't surprise me. Like, I honestly, did you guys notice that I've got, like, my subscribers went up? Like, that's kind of the end of the show. I just kind of want to tell you guys a few things I've been thinking about last few days. By the way, like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. I appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate y'all seeing, watching the show. Anyway, shit. Oh. Yeah, I was gonna say, when I stopped streaming Nick, I wasn't sure what was gonna happen. I wasn't sure how that was gonna play out. But I knew I was gonna lose people watching. I knew that. But I was at like 2030. I'm at like 1998 right now, 1,998. I dropped those 30, and just this week it got below 2,000. I wasn't sure. I thought maybe I could lose half of everybody. I didn't know. Well, like, yeah, I think it was Tuesday night, but since Tuesday night, my subscribers have gone up. They didn't go. I hadn't had subscribers go up since before FIFA. Because I wasn't streaming Nick anymore. I had only seen down the subscribers. And just this week, I think I had a few this stream, but like, I have a really good feeling, actually. Hey, what's up, GQ, brother? Yeah, I've got this really good feeling, to be honest. Like, my stream last night, somebody, and I've seen this with other streamers and podcasters, where you see when their video comes out, how people race to be the first one to comment. Last night, that stream I did, somebody did that. Somebody said first in my, first comment. Like, bro, I don't know if I'm ready for that, man. Like, but I don't know. It's starting to feel really surreal, man. Just the last couple of days, because after I stopped streaming Nick, trying to find my footing and stuff, I wasn't sure how long it would be before I would start getting subscribers again, but it was only like a week. Like, I'm kind of blown away. I didn't even, like, because I streamed Nick's stuff for 6 months, and I got like 2,000 or like 1,500 subs from it. I wasn't sure how many would stay. And people had said, "Man, you're garbage. You're lucky you have Nick to stream, because otherwise nobody, or you better not stop streaming Nick, because I would say, I say I'm going to stop streaming him eventually. Better not stop streaming Nick, because you'll lose everything. You won't make $1. You'll lose everything." Bro, I lost like 33 subs. Like 33 subs. Honestly, I'm kind of like, whoa, that's crazy. I don't know. there was something about Tuesday night. I haven't even quite sorted it out myself. I mean, I figured out what, you know, like I'm starting to understand what's happening here and what you guys come here for and stuff, which thank goodness. But I just like it's just really weird. It's one of those things that kind of checks you, and you're just like, whoa. Like somebody saying first in my comments, that like kind of freaked me out. I was like, whoa, what the hell? And then somebody else, I commented to Khan because he said one of his communist manifesto spiels, and I was like, bro, bro, you didn't even say anything. You didn't even say anything remotely relatable or down to earth. Then somebody else jumps in and says, bro, don't even waste your time, man. Like, don't cast your pearls before swine, bro. I'm not trying to make fun of this guy, but don't cast your pearls before swine, bro. Just a waste of your time, man. Don't worry about it. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I mean, I appreciate it, bro, but Khan is like a faithful patron, a faithful regular. Not only that, but I really like Khan. He's a great foil. No Rumble tonight? What do you mean, Rumble? Oh, Rumble streaming. But like, I actually kind of like Khan because he's a good foil. I like when he brings that stuff up because I get to chop it up with him. I get to debate it and kind of refute it. It's a good foil, and how that guy jumping in, and I was just like, man, bro, like he's a regular, dude. He's not just some swinging dick that just saw one video, like Khan, he's been in here for months, man. He's been in here for a minute, bro, for a hot minute, man. And I appreciate that. It's a big deal. And I like what he has to say. He's not a stupid guy. And what he says is he thinks about it a lot and it means a lot to him. And, and see these things right here, the stuff what I was just talking about, these are the things that Ben Shapiro, he can't do. He's autistic. He can't grasp these things. He can't, or he won't grasp these things. But it's not that hard to be sympathetic, to be understanding, to be reasonable. It's not that hard, really. You just have to actually care, have to actually have convictions, and be invested in the society and the country. Like straight up, man. And he just isn't. But and I did kind of want to say too, kind of like not a mission statement, but kind of a sort of I probably put out a post about this, but like a stating of principles or values, or it's like what Charles Foster Kane did at the beginning of Citizen Kane when he takes over the what was the damn newspaper called? I forget what the newspaper was called, but he takes it over and he writes out a mission statement basically with all the things that basically the promises he makes to the readers. And I honestly, like, I could have probably gotten advertisers by now. I probably could have got Kalshi or Polymarket or DraftKings. A friend of mine said that he could hook me up with that. Like he knew people. Like, no thanks, man. No thanks. I have more, like, honestly, I have more dignity and more self-respect than to do that. But I also have more appreciation and more respect for you guys. I think that's despicable. Selling your patrons, the people that put you where you're at, the people that without those people, you just straight up, you're nothing. And, that is beneath me. And like, I like that Nick doesn't have advertisers. I think it's respectable. It's admirable. I mean, straight up. And I intend on doing the same thing as best I can, anyhow, as best I can, as long as I can. I mean, if it came down to it, like a couple years from now, where I like was out on a limb financially, maybe I would. But like, I intend not to even allow that to like to get out on a limb. I intentionally want to keep things tight and efficient and small. But yeah, there's no way. Like hopefully, like I'm just gonna try and live off of like the YouTube revenue or whatever, or maybe do what I can beyond there if I'm lucky enough anyway to even get there. But yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that kind of stuff. I don't want to do these stupid ads and ad reads. It depends on how much what I can do with YouTube, but yeah, I don't want to do any of that crap. Straight up, I don't want to do any of that stuff. I don't want to shill for anybody. I like not shilling for anybody. I like that. I mean, I don't want to, I feel like just saying my own advertisements. Like I tried recording one where I was like, like and subscribe, this and that is disgusting, bro. It made me feel filthy, filthy. And I haven't used it since, bro. It's gross, bro. It's like begging to me. It feels like begging, man. And I just don't like it, bro. And you got to do what you got to do sometimes. And I ask for help and stuff, but like, yeah, I don't want to have to do that. And I don't want to get too big for my britches. I don't want to end up with some like albatross around my neck, like I like this. I really like doing this. Like I love it, and it would, I just want to be able to live a comfortable, modest life, have, house, maybe a family. You know what I'm saying? Like that's all I want. To be honest, that's probably all I would even use, like I'm not a hot dog and daredevil or anything. But like, I don't want much, and so I don't intend on doing any of that stuff. I don't intend on making a clown out of myself or becoming a shill. Like that's not why I do this. I do this because it's satisfying. I'm satisfied as a person when I do, because I'm doing this. And I don't need a lot of money to make me feel good. I don't need a lot of crap to make me feel contented, to make me feel like life has meaning. Life has meaning for me right now, you know? So, and honestly, I'm, rather excited, straight up. Like, in this week, on Tuesday, I had like, it kind of blew me away because, man, there was a few little clips or few minutes in there where I was kind of not ranting or getting off on a tangent, but I was talking about some pretty dry stuff like the Shakespeare and Othello. And either my viewers stayed exactly, people were locked in watching, or I gained viewers in those instances. That just it kind of blew my mind. Like straight up, that blew my mind. I was like, whoa. Well, basically, I thought people came to watch me for the opposite of why they came to watch me, more or less. I was thinking people were coming here for like my opinion on politics or something, but no, no, not even close. And I'm a little bit surprised actually, at how receptive people are to some of the things I talk about, and it's exciting. I'm like tonight, great. I've got almost 300 views. That's like double what I was getting this last week or two. And I'm definitely putting forth a lot more effort. I've been working in OBS trying to get this stuff figured out so that I can have things are smoother and I don't look like an amateur. There's a lot of, you got to learn it step by step though. It's very complex and you have to learn it one step at a pretty much. And also getting like getting my ducks in a row when it comes to other platforms, like the routine, like clipping, getting clips, all that stuff, getting all that stuff set up. You know, just so like, cause it's like I want to be a content creator, want to be a YouTuber. Well, if I want to be you know, if like I have set goals for myself, I want to do things and I want to be things. Well, in order for me to do and be the things that I want, I have to learn how to do several things that I have no clue how to do. At least at the beginning when I started streaming, is like learning how to stream. Never did it. Never learned how to use OBS. So when I made when I decided to do this, it was like, I have to I'm going to have to master OBS. I'm going to have to master a few different things, a few different pieces of software and a few different workflows. I guess that's what they call it. But and honestly, I love it. It's so much fun. Like, because it's like, kind of learning my craft. I love it. It's fun. And learning, creating artistically, or like the thumbnails and stuff. And that's what I've been doing since January. I knew that, I'm not going to go viral. It's going to take effort, elbow grease, tenacity, stick-to-itiveness, for lack of a better word. And, but I was like, I may as well get started now, because there's a hell of a lot of learning I got to do before I can even if I want to be a streamer, I got to learn how to do this, this, and this, and do it damn well, or I haven't got a chance in snowball's chance in hell. So that's what I've been doing. And honestly, actually, it's worked out better than even I thought, and I I had pretty high hopes. I was thinking, man, I was pretty much certain that I would do well, and it wouldn't take long, but I didn't think it was going to be like this quick. And honestly, I think it could have been quicker. I kind of purposely pumped the brakes. I don't want to get in over my head. And I'm every fiber of my being fighting, as my income, as I gain an actual income, because I don't have one right now, but as I get one, I'm just going to have to fight off the urge, the American urge it's like, you start making more money and you don't know what to do with it. And then very quickly, almost instantly, you figure out how to spend it. Because I've had that problem before, when you're like, I don't even know what I would spend this on. But it's like, that's like a truly American urge. Is as soon as you get a raise, you go out and get a new car. You go out and buy a bigger house, do something stupid. What's crazy is, I used to be in construction. There was a lot of breakthroughs in the construction industry, like those big wooden joists, the big triangles that, are the roofs for homes that they put on top of, when they invented those in like the 70s, or a guy invented them, it's basically where they use those plates with the spikes in them to connect each joint. The guy who came up with those, I think it was in the 60s, but that streamlined and made home building so much more efficient. I think the houses were like 30% cheaper. And instead of selling 30% cheaper houses, they just, as is the American way, they just started building houses that were 30% bigger on the same lot. They're called McMansions. They're on 0 lots where they have a foot on each side of the house. You can spit into the next door neighbors. If you have a second story, you can spit right into the next door neighbor's window. You can poke them in the eye if they're straight up, man. That's because they made some breakthroughs in the construction industry. And because we're such a piece of garbage, our culture is so broken in some ways. Instead of saving that money and putting it towards something else as a society, no, we just decided, oh, well, that means we can afford a house that's 30% bigger. It's like, bro, it's almost like we're doomed. We're doomed, man. We have no prudence. We have no real like prudence. Yeah, we don't have any like sense of propriety, sensibilities, common sense. You know, it's like you were buying a house that was this size. And that what you were buying it, so it was obviously it was good enough. And now rather than save that money, put your kid through college or whatever, you're gonna like golly, man. It's wasted on some of these people. Like America and the prosperity is it's wasted on people because that is a waste of prosperity. It's disgusting. Honestly, it really is. It's one of those things that kind of makes you feel ashamed, kind of makes you feel dirty. Like, oh, why do I have to belong to anything that people like this belong to? You know, why do these people reflect on me? Like, ugh. Yeah, the McMansion thing, it really is disgusting. It's disgusting. I mean, it's pathetic, bro. And it's the kind of thing where it's for no reason or it's for keeping up with the Joneses. And like, that's what's destroying our country is that people can, like, especially nowadays, people can never control themselves. The government can't control itself. People can't control themselves. Whereas we used to have sensibilities. People didn't do that. They got just what they needed, no more. Now, it's insane, man. People, and it's like a lot. America. It's like we don't teach people how to live life. You know, the proper way to live. You know, the sensible way, the honest way. So when they get to adulthood, they don't know what to do. So they follow their feelings, whatever feels good. And then people end up in the usury trap or in a trap like that where they can't control themselves and they go into massive amounts of debt to buy makeup and useless garbage off of TikTok. You know, they throw everything away for the dopamine rush they get from Amazon or from social media. And I think it's definitely an indictment on society as a whole. It's like we're just abandoned to our own devices. It's kind of, it doesn't feel like it's coincidental, you know, it feels maybe like that's the point. But yeah, there's a lot of work to do. There's a hell of a lot of work to do, you know. It sucks. Just thinking like, Ben was talking about in that thing, he was talking about how he thinks people are dumber today. He's like, you know, back when I was 17, people were not this dumb. Even, you know, they were dumb, but they weren't this dumb and this and that. Thinking to myself, like, bro, get off of your high horse, dude. You are pathetic. You're a sorry excuse for an adult. He's the opposite of Hassan Piker. The opposite extreme. Hassan Piker, all he cares about is what people think of him. Ben Shapiro just doesn't care what anybody thinks of him, but it makes him unfit to live with. Makes him unfit to live around. But talking about how dumb people are, and I'm thinking, yeah, because you know everything, right, Ben? You're God. Everything you say, do, and touch is good. Apparently. But it's like, bro, you say, oh, everybody's dumb or this and that. And it's like, yeah, and we're just supposed to never mind that the world has changed. Books don't mean shit anymore. They don't. They're not useful. They're totally unwieldy. It's a hassle. It's more trouble than it's worth. You have to put your phone down. You know, you have to put everything else down to pick that up. And I do it still. But it's easier just to get a tablet or a Kindle or something and use that. That is actually easier. Or audiobooks. The book thing, I love it, but it's like it's kind of superfluous. I'll always have books as I want to have a library. You know, I've always wanted one since I was a kid, but it's like, and Ben, he just totally pretends that it's like pretending the world hasn't changed, pretending different things are important today, pretending that a whole new set of skills that didn't even exist when I was a kid. You know, not just like World War II. When I was growing up, when Ben was growing up, these things didn't exist. And he's like, you know, people are just dumber. It's like, or maybe their intelligence is honed and focused for things that you don't care about, asshole. You know, like people, they're good at video games. They're good, like, you know what I'm saying? They're good at different things because they spend their time doing different things. Human beings are no dumber today than they were 10,000 years ago or than they were 20 years ago. And that goes for Americans too. Ben Shapiro is just just a stupid J, if you ask me. I mean, he's had a lot of people massaging his satchel his entire life, telling him how smart he is. He isn't. He's not insightful, really. Maybe a little bit because he has inside knowledge with politics, but he's not insightful. He's not relatable, not authentic, and he's not worth a shit. He's not admirable. He's nothing but a Scrooge McDuck, old, crusty, caterpillar eyebrow having, Israel first, Jew first, old Jew. That's all he is. Old tiny hat wearing Jew. That's all that guy is. That's all he cares about. 2 million people in the world, or 20 million people in the whole world. The rest of them, you could nuke them. You could wipe them off the face of the earth, and it wouldn't bother Ben. In fact, it would make him feel good. He would appreciate it. You know, and it's just like, bro, why do we tolerate these people, bro? We should run these assholes out of our country on rails. Tar and feather these bastards. Straight up, man. I'm not even kidding either. There's only it's such a small number. I don't know why we don't just do that. Just kick that trash out of our country. Like, why do we tolerate being like subjugated by this refuse, this absolute this Euro trash, which is what they are. Them and gypsies. That's what Euro trash is. Just sort of, they're like the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, the Great European Garbage Patch that just sort of floats with the current around the continental Europe. That's what they are. That's what they were. And they still are. They have their one little landfill that's over there in the desert, but there's very few of them are there. The rest of them, they're all in the Great European, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. They're just out there floating around, picking the people around them's pockets, grab them with both hands so that they can buy off our government officials and subjugate. We don't have to tolerate this. Like, I don't know why we do. Why do people put up with all this crap? Like, because a few politicians told us in the past that, oh, we're a nation of immigrants. And I asked my little brother what it was he said to that Puerto Rican guy that he works with, because I muffed it. I totally screwed it up when I said it. This is what he was saying was, the guy was saying, why can't Americans just, get over it? Like, they're immigrants too. They're European immigrants. Why are they so against immigrants? And my little brother, he looks at the guy and he goes, oh yeah. He's like, well, oh, I'm an immigrant and I should be okay with the browning of America. He goes, Where do your ancestors come from, asshole? Oh, you're Puerto Rican, are you? Your son's got blue eyes. You're an immigrant too, homeboy. Do you consider yourself a Puerto Rican? And this guy, he's the type of guy that talks crap about immigrants coming to Puerto Rico. And it's like, bro, are you native Puerto Rican Indian, homeboy? Like, who gets to call themselves a Native American? Guy's basically saying, oh, they had to have been here before Columbus or whatever. And it's like, but you yourself, your family came to Puerto Rico when our family came to America. Screw you. And bro, we should just cut your ass loose and let you float out into the ocean and sink like your garbage pile you are. Like, I just couldn't believe this crap. Like, can you believe this, bro? Like, the guy say, oh, why can't these white people in America just blah, blah, blah. And it's like, bro, oh, they're immigrants. They're a nation of immigrants. Well, define immigrant. Who isn't an immigrant? When are they not an immigrant? You know what I'm saying? And it just blows my mind. This whole rules for thee and not for me. Like, bro, Puerto Ricans, they committed their own little genocide. Spain, they did it. They killed more people than we killed, or than America killed for America. For sure they did. The Spanish, bro, they butchered so many Aztecs and Mayans and Incans. They wiped out 2 civilizations, like cities and stuff. You know, the Indians of America didn't have nothing like that. We just shoot them off all we did was shoo them off of some land. Like a flock of chickens. Like, bro, shooed them off the land like a flock of chickens. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, they were living in teepees and lodges, dude. You know, it's like we didn't even need to demolish anything or do anything, bro. They just picked up their cowhide and sticks, loaded them up onto their shitty little horses, their palominos, their paints, and kicked rocks, bro. We just shoot them off like a flock of chickens. Get on out of here. They didn't own a damn thing, bro. We shoot them off like a flock of chickens, bro. That ain't the same thing as Europe. That ain't the same thing as the Aztecs. That ain't the same thing as the Egyptians. That ain't the same thing as the Great Wall of China. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, that ain't the same, dude. That ain't the same. These people hadn't even invested in their own land. They just lived on it, followed animals around, which is fine. You know, I'm not knocking. I'm just saying they honestly, they didn't even have the concept of property like Europeans have. So it's moot. You know, all they saw was rights to the animals, the hunting, basically. You know, other than that, that's really the only value they saw in land, you know, and they would mark their stuff on trees, whatnot. Anywho, fellas, it was a great stream. Appreciate you guys being here. Wasn't a whole lot of talking tonight, not gonna lie. I wasn't expecting that, actually. Anywho, I appreciate you guys coming through and hanging with me, listen to me blather on after everybody else basically bounced, and I'm just talking about myself, basically. I appreciate it, man, and hopefully, yeah, and I'm trying to change. I think I'm gonna add another membership tier. Like, by the way, guys, you can get a free membership, or you can get a trial membership for 1 month at least. You can do that with every channel. They all offer a trial membership, one month. But if you guys have any suggestions or anything, like you get a good idea, let me, I'd like to hear it. Like, no matter what, like, I don't know everything. And I can't watch everything. I can't learn everything. I can't research everything. So, if you guys have a good idea or think something I'd be interested in, or, an idea I might like, I would appreciate it. It'd be great. Anyway, I'll see you guys tomorrow. You know, have a good day have a good day tomorrow. Okay, I'll see you guys same time tomorrow night.
The big litigation.
Oops.